Live from New York. It's a show that's learning something every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Brew.
What? What? KW,
We're having an editorial.
We're
having an editorial disagreement.
That's fine. KW, let's not worry about that. Let's worry about the fact.
Happy Groundhog Day.
That's. Didn't even know it was Groundhog Day.
you didn't?
Is it Groundhog Day?
Guys, come on. You didn't.
But did he see a shadow? Did you see your shadow?
Yes.
Sorry.
6 or 8 more weeks of winter. I don't know what.
Okay. That's not what I want to talk about, though.
6. Thank you, Hubs.
This is the week, Brew. Either a week from today, that door leaves the studio. Actually, no matter what, a week from today, that door will leave the studio, and it will either be sent to Canton, Ohio, or it will be demolished by Brew and I on 54th Street.
I don't know if demolishing the door.
Well, I mean, we paid for the sledgehammers already. Yeah.
Although, actually,
say it, Brew. Brew's fair. Brew is fair.
That's why he's the mayor of fair.
He's fair.
I'm feeling a little better about the Patriots. Let's just put it.
Wow.
Oh,
I'm not sure where I'm going yet.
Wow.
I love this.
I need to get up in the lab and do some more filming.
I love
But I'm
this.
feeling better about the
Thank you. Oh, my goodness. This week
let's
is
go.
Didn't say I was picking them,
No,
but
I
maybe.
know that, but I like that.
Wow.
Seahawks and Patriots touchdown in Northern California. Hubs, I let Hubs get into my script. Who will have the most touchdowns in the game? Hubs, you crushed that one. That's good. Meanwhile, friend of the show and 2-time Super Bowl champion, Danny Amendola, joins us. He took a little 3 or 4 year break from joining us. But hey, welcome back, Danny Amendola. Is Drake going to run some of Brady's favorite plays that Amendola was on the receiving end? And finally, is there a chance the Seattle Seahawks are getting too much respect? I mean, I think there's some interesting statistics that say yes. I'm just telling you. Okay. It's interesting. Some interesting statistics that say yes. Alongside Chris Broussard, whose mind is not made up about the Super Bowl.
Not yet.
I'm Kevin Wildes, and I'm still keeping an open mind.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, right.
I am.
You have the Seahawks. The only thing you're debating are the Patriots winning by 7, 10, or 14. That's the only thing you're debating.
Or more.
Or
14 plus.
First of all, or more is on the board.
Yeah, see,
also, 2 is on the board. And if I'm open, if you come up with some great stuff in this show, I will change my mind.
Great.
I promise you, I am open.
Perfect.
So it's on you, Nick Wright. He's gonna. If you do it,
Who even know? You don't even know what side I'm going with.
we'll find out. We start with the Patriots. They flew to Santa Clara, and boy, are their arms tired.
Stop it, bro.
You laughed. It's not my fault. Especially Drake Maye has been dealing with a bad shoulder that he and his coach admit is less than 100%. Seahawks coach Mike McDonald was asked about Drake's shoulder, and here's what he said.
He is a tremendous player. He really is. He's strong. He's fast. You know all the things. Great arm talent. Great decision making. We got to be on our stuff up front.
With Drake popping in and off the injury report for the Patriots, how much do you take that into account at this point?
None. I had Josh and Hubs pull Drake's Super Bowl props. So I was trying to get a gauge and wanted your reaction to this.
Yeah.
It feels like if he had a bad shoulder, I feel like these numbers are still pretty good. 31 pass attempts. These are all over under. Passing yards are up there. Passing touchdowns, 2+.
I mean, that's 220 passing yards, not a huge number. And
but Seahawks don't really allow anybody to throw over 11 times. Seattle defense has held QBs.
No, I mean, I
200.
think that I think that Vegas thinks Drake Maye is going to have to throw the ball a lot. And I you know what I mean? And I think they're right on that.
So do you think we are overreacting to Drake's news of Drake's shoulder or lack thereof?
Well, no, I don't. This is definitely something. Like whenever we ask the "Are we overreacting?" questions, it's a little tricky because I don't know if we have an agreed upon reaction level for everybody to like the room temperature of reaction.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen mass panic about this. That would be overreaction. But in a world where on this show we have said Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame has some impact on this game, I think that Drake Maye's some. See, he said.
I doubt you and I have seen.
No, but the show is a collective.
Really?
Some. See, I told you.
Nothing.
Like this.
Whatever it was. It's
how about
something.
none?
No.
None is off the board.
Okay.
How's this impact the game? How's Belichick not being?
We're just discredited, doubted.
He's just saying it's adding to the nobody believes in us factor. I maybe shouldn't have brought that up because
just a little bit.
So in that world where that is a little bit, this is more than a little bit.
Yes.
This is certainly something. And listen, he has been sacked this season 62 times. He's run the ball another 120. Now, I didn't want to make Josh waste his time by being like, all right, how many of those rush attempts were kneel downs? How many did he run out of bounds? So, I'm going to say he's probably been tackled around 150 times total.
Oh, with the sacks.
Right, with the sacks included in it, somewhere around there. And it has worn on him. And in the brave new world of lines of demarcation statistical analysis, like what last week when we got in the semi-argument about was the Rams defense good or bad or average, because they were really good and then they were bad at the end. Something very similar has happened with Drake Maye's deep passes, and it well predates any concern about a shoulder injury, which is Drake Maye, the first 2 months of the year, was the best deep thrower of the football by a lot. He didn't do it all that much, but when he did it, it was unstoppable. And Drake Maye, since those first 2 months, has been dead average at it. The completion percentage is bad, but the touchdowns are good, and we can show you that in league ranked terms, right? First 2 months of the year, first in completion percentage, third in touchdown interception on deep passes, 5-0 touchdown interceptions, or even those third is outstanding, and a passer rating that's 0.8 off best possible, best perfect.
That's just a stupid.
Correct.
In a good way.
Right.
Like perfect
and
passer
so,
rating, deep passes.
But the ranks are what to me is interesting. The last 3 months, Drake Maye on deep passes has been definitionally mid. And so that was before there was any concern about his banged up shoulder.
Do you think that is, and I know the playoff numbers probably drag that down.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, because that's 3 out of
But for whatever it's worth, one of the 4 touchdowns is the booty pass, which is in the playoffs. So
But you think it's related to a shoulder?
No, what I'm saying is he already had for a couple months come back down to earth on what was a remarkable deep pass heater that he was on to start the year. That plus what I do think is a banged up shoulder is something. To me, it's certainly not nothing.
How many passes was that? Is it like
that
a
was
sample?
I could have done the math
or is
because
it, just
was
like a
3. Just show the first one graphic again. I think it's 41 passes if I remember it correctly, because it was 33.6 per game, and I think it's been 3.6 a game. They've played 11 or 12 games, so it's it's right around 40. Josh could tell me, but it's right there. It's 43. It's on the screen. Sorry, 15 of 43. Sure. It's on the screen. So that's it's not nothing. It's a real number.
Also, probably defenses obviously scouting them.
Yeah, how good he was at it.
This is a part
all
of their game.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll defend it better. I don't think it's a big deal. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at Drake Maye's shoulder like I looked at Sam Darnold's oblique. I thought, this is just something to be concerned about. He wasn't throwing the ball in practice leading up to the game, and then he comes out there and plays the best game of his life. So, yes, I think it might be sore. He banged it up, but I'm sure he's fine. They don't seem concerned in the least bit. I get it. If you were, they probably wouldn't be putting it out there. But I think he will be fine. I think if there's pain, they'll shoot him up. He'll be pain-free when he plays, and he'll be able to do his thing in the game. If he doesn't play well or if they lose, I don't think the shoulder will have anything to do with it.
The Hufanga hit was kind of the line in the sand that everyone says, like, oh, look at he's grabbing his shoulder. There was another idea that he was adjusting his shoulder pads, maybe both. But after this hit is when they run the flea flicker to Mac Hollins, which he throws like a nice little pillow here. So this was immediately after it. So if his shoulder, I mean, that's a pretty good throw. So, but I don't have a lot to go on because after that we stopped throwing the ball.
Right. And so here would be my biggest concern if I were New England. Again, I don't think this is a big concern, but I don't think we can ignore it.
Sure.
Would be if it really was whatever made him miss practice or be listed with a shoulder was not, because I know there was reporting, he's been dealing with it for weeks. Mm-hmm. My skepticism of that is because he wasn't on the injury report. And I think it was the Hufanga hit that really made this an issue. I just want to say this very quickly about like the injury report stuff. Because Josh Allen came out on crutches and everyone's like, oh man, he had a broken bone in his foot. We had no idea. Yeah, we did. We didn't know what the injury was, but he said he got hurt in week 16. And go back and check the Bills' injury reports every week after that. He is listed with a foot injury starting after the game he got hurt. Yep. Teams about their quarterback have to be very careful about just not listing anything whatsoever. I would feel better if I were a Pats fan if it were true, if it is true, he has been dealing with this for 5 weeks, than if it was, no, something happened on the Hufanga. Yeah. Because if it's been dealing with it for 5 weeks, we kind of know. I don't think the shoulder's why he's fumbling the ball. And he has thrown some really nice passes throughout this playoffs, even with the mistakes. But if it's something that happened in the second half of that game and he didn't throw much after that, that's where my concern would be of how much will this impact him.
All right. Seahawks still favored by 4.5. Now, a spread this large has not been historically kind to the favorites, 2-5 outright, and no favorite has covered in the last 20 years. Brew, do you think this spread is too large?
Sadly, Wilds, no.
Oh, I thought you were. What about the top of the show?
Yeah, I mean, I got a week to decide what I want to do. But I am feeling a little better.
A little bit. And the answer should be like, yeah.
No, late last week, I was like, only 4.5?
No way.
Now I've come a little bit closer to you. So, look, the Seahawks had the best point differential in the league by almost 20 points. And that was against the fourth best schedule in the league, the fourth toughest schedule. You guys were third in point differential, but that was against the worst schedule in the league, or easiest schedule in the league, and really one of the easiest in NFL history. And they demolished a good San Francisco team. We get it. They were banged up and everything, but Purdy, McCaffrey were there. They had played them tough in the regular season. And then they handled a very good Rams team. All right. You guys struggled with a Denver team quarterback by its backup. And so I think people looking at it, strength of schedule, blowouts throughout the year as far as quality of teams and things like that, are justified in saying, I think Seattle has an advantage here, and I think they can win this game by more than 4 points or 5 points. So I don't think they're disrespecting you by that.
So you want to know what the sharps feel, KW?
Oh, I would love to hear where the dumb money is, and then.
Well, I don't know where the dumb money is, but I can tell you what there is a consensus amongst the Vegas sharps that if you are playing the money line, that even having just straight winner, even having to lay minus 200, Seattle's the play. But Patriots plus the points is the play against the spread, which means the sharp money thinks this is basically a Seattle 3 or 4 point win, and so they think the spread's a touch too big.
I'm surprised that hasn't come down.
Well, I don't know. That's maybe a longer discussion for your highly rated podcast, which is moving the line on Super Bowls is a very dangerous thing to do, to where books can get middled and they move it to 3.5. It ends at Patriots or Seattle wins by 4, and then they lose the early money and the late money. That happened famously one Super Bowl, but doesn't matter. Again, it's for your podcast. Here is why I disagree with the Vegas sharps, and I disagree with you. Because I'm assuming you think it's too big of a line.
Seems large.
Young quarterbacks and first-time playing Mike Macdonald quarterback, or young quarterbacks against Mike Macdonald's defenses have done terribly, And all quarterbacks the first time playing Mike McDonald's defenses
Stafford.
have done very poorly. So quarterbacks 25 or under 25, I should say, against McDonald's Seahawks. They're 1-9. They have a 68 rating. They score less than 16 points per game, 7 touchdowns, 12 picks. Now, again, most young quarterbacks are not as good as Drake Maye, and so I understand that, but it is.
But there was, I forgot who was saying it, but there was an idea that Stafford is the outlier just because he's seen it.
You've seen him so many times, and you know what I mean? Twice
But
last
even his
year.
first time
You're
this
right.
year, he didn't
First time
do
this
that
year, but and his first time this year was his third time going against him because he played him in the division. And then this is all quarterbacks against Mike McDonald defenses, including his 2 years with the Ravens. So when Mike McDonald's called your defense, all quarterbacks in their first time against it. 39 touchdowns, 40 picks, 65 rating, again, right around 16 points per game, and a passer rating under 80. Like, that is spooky if you're a Patriots team that I believe, KW, the strength is their passing game. Like, the way they got, I know it hasn't been in the playoffs, but the way they got here was through their passing game. Oddly, that might be less spooky of a stat if we had gotten, say Bo Nix was healthy, a Broncos Super Bowl or even a Texans Super Bowl, a team that's like 16, points.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like
We'll
sign
live there.
us up and see. And I'm not saying you guys couldn't win a 16-13 game, but that has not been really your path here, even though it's been your path in the playoffs.
Why I think it's too large of a spread is because, like you said, Brew, it feels like the Drake Maye against the Broncos has cast this long shadow over the Super Bowl. And Sam Darnold versus the Rams has done the same thing. Like, Drake's stock really fell, and Sam Darnold's has really risen. Yeah. So, Dust, see if you can grab the Seahawks turnovers graphic from, I think it's in the D block. And I haven't seen people bring this up because we know that the Patriots defense is playing great. They're on like a 2,000 Ravens pace as far as points go. But they're playing a quarterback who throughout his career has really given up the ball. And the Seahawks in the regular season have fumbled the ball the most, lost the most fumbles, have 15 interceptions, which is 7th most, and the second most giveaways. So, to me, I don't know if this is a game that, it's going to sound weird, but stay with me, the Patriots need to win or the Seahawks need to not lose. Does that make sense? Like, does Drake need to play phenomenal, or is this similar echoes of the Denver game?
No.
Like, you know what?
I think not at all.
Darnold will give this one up.
I am not sitting here saying, and I'm sure Brew isn't either, the Patriots can't win or the Patriots need to play perfect to win or any of that. But Seattle has the resume and the bona fides of the best team in the NFL this year.
Right.
The idea that you can walk into a Super Bowl when I think they're a well-coached and healthy team and just be like, if we don't make mistakes, it's a similar spot as playing Stidham.
I mean,
think about an echo of it. I'm not saying I'm just saying if you're playing a team that gives the ball up, is a mistake going to turn the game when this is a matchup between, I think it's the first time since the merger, it's both teams are top 4 scoring defense and scoring. So I would say, like, a mistake is going to turn it.
Yeah, and I just don't know if I even agree Seattle's a turnover-prone team or if they were just turnover-prone in those Rams games. If you just told me they had 28 turnovers and 7 of them were in the Rams, the 2 Rams regular season games, that to me, it skews it a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, their offense is so much better than Denver's. It's not. I mean, the receivers are better. They got the arguably best receiver in the league.
I'm just saying it's like
run game.
I'm not saying maybe I shouldn't have brought up the Denver game, but it's just a game that turned on a mistake from the quarterback.
But if you're saying you think Seattle, like your guys' path is winning the turnover battle,
oh yeah,
I think that is, I think that's probably smart. I just feel like Darnold has played really clean football, in this postseason and dating back to Week 18. I just think he is, and I think the Seahawks stock is up from not just the Rams game, but the 41-6 annihilation the round. I think your guys' stock dropped in round 2 a bit in that Texans game. Whether you think it should have or not, I think it did. And the Seahawks stock skyrocketed in that 41-6.
Yeah, I might be a man on an island, but I felt like the 49ers were a puncher, like
I think that's right.
Surviving another round. It's like they're going to give it up.
They were, yeah.
But it wasn't annihilation. So.
Yeah.
Look,
all right.
Nick is making me feel less good about the Patriots.
Wow.
He has some numbers.
Wow, I'm moving,
I'm
bro.
just saying. I'm taking everything in right now. I'm a blank slate
undecided voter.
I'm just,
Wiles
I'm
is claiming
taking
an
it all
undecided
in.
voter, and then you check he's only donated to one party his whole life.
LeBron had 22 last night in the Garden, and during the game, he was named to his 22nd All-Star game. Voting, of course, via the coaches for the reserves. Here's LeBron on the honor.
Super humbling. The coaches voted, right? Mad respect to the coaches and them seeing I'm still playing at this latter stage of my career, and to be able to be an all-star, it means a lot to my family, people that's been following my career, my LeBron faithful, has been following my journey, and but it's just I don't know, man. It's always rewarding.
All right, Brew, your reaction to LeBron's All-Star nod.
Well, I'm happy for him. I feel like it's only right. Like, the All-Star game is a showcase and an exhibition. And LeBron has been the face of the league for the past 20 years. So I think it is right to have him there. And when you look at his numbers and the way he's played, 22 points, about 6 rebounds, 6 assists a game on 50% shooting. Yep. I'm not saying he's been terrific, but you can, and on the 6th seed in the West, a team that, is playing pretty good basketball, you can justify having him on this roster. And so I feel like it was fine to put him on there, and you can't look at his performance and be like, this is ridiculous, this is a joke. So I think it's good to have him on there. Now, I do think Kawhi Leonard is playing better than LeBron. Kawhi not being on this team is one of the biggest slights I've seen in a long time as far as all-star snubs. They've won 17 of their last 21 games. Kawhi's averaging almost 28 points a game. He's playing great. But the guy I would have had off instead of LeBron to put Kawhi on is Deni Avdija, who is a great young player in Portland. I mean, he's playing lights out, but they're 4 games below 500. And I do think you can look at LeBron. LeBron is the second option when Reeves is in there, and darn near the third option when Reeves is there. I do think LeBron could score more if that was his role or he was being asked to, or if Luka wasn't there. So I'm fine with LeBron. I'm glad he'll be there for this type of showcase. But I would have had Kawhi over Avdija.
Or Chet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the feeling was just that OKC
their record's so good, you got to put them in.
But
Chet, so this is this is where I get frustrated with some of the coverage of LeBron. Because Hollinger, who I like a lot.
Yeah, he torched it.
And is not like a hot take guy.
No.
Called it outrageous. One of the most outrageous things he's seen. And I just wonder if folks, when it comes to this player, just have a total inability to remember anything that happened with other players that sit in the same room he sits in. Because in my lifetime, there are 3 players that were in that no doubt top 10 and, kind of legendary icon status that had long careers, and at the end got some, are you active? Are you still, you're going to be an all-star, and nobody cared. The first was Kobe, who we could show you his last 2 all-star appearances, but here's the last one. His team was 11-44. He averaged 17 points a game and was 35% from the field. Nobody thought it was an outrage. Right. Michael Jordan.
Kobe and Jordan, were they voted by the fans?
I'll be totally honest, that I couldn't look up. I couldn't find that. So I'm not certain. Here's Jordan. Jordan's first year with the Wizards, you can make the case he was a legitimate, even if his name was Michael Jameson, all-star. His second year with the Wizards, you know why he made the all-star team?
He ended up averaging 20 that year.
He had second half of the year, he averaged a little more. He made that team that year because he was Michael Jordan. And Kareem, his final year was 9 points a game. and that he picked it up as well. I think he got to 11 in the second half. But you know what? He was Kareem, and he was active.
I'm guessing Dr.
He was
J
an
was
all-star.
similar.
Oh, I didn't even pull Dr. I said
probably made it his last year,
And so
too.
it is disingenuous, in my opinion, for folks to act like this is unprecedented. What would have been unprecedented would have been LeBron, even if his numbers were half of what they are this year. Bruce said he's 22-6-6. The precedent is if he were 11-3-3 and the Lakers were the 12 seed, he's an all-star. That's the precedent with the Lakers. And so I think people lie to themselves a bit about what is expected and what is not.
But can I make the counterpoint to that? I think that those were almost honorary ads. And that's not what we're trying to make it an argument against Kawhi as just like a raw numbers, merit-based.
But there was still someone left out. They didn't add a spot.
No, I understand, but it just feels like I don't think you were making that like no one's wasn't making a statistical argument that Kobe needs to be there. Versus LeBron is almost a victim of being too good. Like I would argue, like if LeBron was down to 10-4-4. Like, of course LeBron needs to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I get what you're saying.
I guess
it would have been more of a sympathy. Let's see him as last year.
just like an honorific all-star versus like a merit-based
The other thing, Nick, we
all-star.
don't know if this is LeBron's last year. Whereas Kobe we knew, Jordan I believe we knew.
I don't think we knew with Jordan for sure, but maybe. I also didn't want to inundate people with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever it's worth, for Kobe and Kareem in particular, and kind of for Michael's second to last year with the Wizards, his numbers were almost identical to what LeBron is right now. 22-6-5 on 50%, or I think his percentage was lower. But Kareem and Kobe, their second to last year, the numbers were way worse than Bron's this year. But again, they were Kareem and Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making is this, KW. I think you might be right, that it's like, are we making the argument that if it was anonymous ballot, blind resume, he'd be an all-star? No. Which is why I think the people writing about Kawhi's snub juxtaposed to LeBron's inclusion are missing it. Kawhi's snub should be juxtaposed to Chet or Denny or whomever, because LeBron's in. Mm-hmm.
Even Booker's playing great, but there's
Phoenix Suns getting in.
To me, I look at LeBron like this year, and again, if he plays 28 years and every year could be his last year, then at some point maybe you have to pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
LeBron's active and he's healthy. He's an all-star.
Yes.
I think it's pretty simple.
He didn't want Keontae George to be an all-star because he was too busy watching golf. Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold. That's next on First Things First. Like Jamal Murray got in. All 10 of the NFL's head coaching vacancies are now slated to be filled. Seahawks OC Klint Kubiak to the Raiders. A Rams OC Mike LaFleur, Matt's younger brother, Brew, to the Cardinals. No black head coaches were hired in this cycle. Your reaction?
Well, it's disappointing for sure. Now there are 3 black head coaches in the league, 3 out of 32, which is low. And we know the climate of the country, this administration is less focused on diversity and things like that. So could this be a reaction to that? I don't know. I'm willing to give it another cycle, like the next cycle, which probably be next summer, if there are a lot of openings and then no black head coaches, then it'll really be, alarming to me. I do think there are several guys that could have gotten a job. Vance Joseph, we talked about him. Mm-hmm. Denver, one of the best defenses in the league this year. He did a great job there, DC. Obviously, we always talk about Brian Flores. And I get it. Some owners may hold the fact that he's suing the league for racism against him. But he is working in the league right now, and he's respected. He's doing a great job. And then I think the guy Shieldhouse, the Rams quarterback, Nate Shieldhouse, the Rams quarterback coach, that's one of the best he's their passing game coordinator. He seems like one of those hot young offensive minds. Now, Mike McDaniel could have got one too. He didn't. So I'm not, ready to just, shout from the rooftops. And yet I do think it's unfortunate and disappointing. I'm willing to give it another cycle and see what happens then. But I think there are several qualified guys. Hopefully they'll get some of these jobs next year. And I will say this, though. I would like to see the Players Association release a statement just saying how this is disappointing. There are many qualified African-American coordinators and coaching candidates that should have gotten a job. And I would like to see them just put that on the record and release a statement. And then going forward, we'll see if this improves. If not, then you have to take more, do more things to right this situation.
Yeah, this has been something that's been talked about for a long time and hasn't really changed very much. If anything, the numbers have gone down in the most recent years. And you look at the group of defense coordinators and defensive passing game coordinators, I think there were 14 guys there. There's less on the offensive side where that would typically, where those candidates would be drawn from. So the fact that Brian didn't get an opportunity, I'm sure it relates to the lawsuit. And he brought attention to this, what was it, 3 years now? It seems like 3 or 4 years. And he said, I don't want to go on an interview for the sake of going on an interview, which
the Rooney Rule.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. So the rule that was in place has now become something that's maybe not as positive as it was hoped to be. And then I'm sure there's frustration because you'd say, okay, we're drawing from offensive and defensive coordinators, but you see a guy like Phillip Rivers get an interview, and then how do you justify that? If you're anybody looking at this and say, okay, it's just if we're going for the coordinator group and maybe there needs to be more black offensive coordinator, but then you go to Phillip Rivers and this doesn't make any sense.
So
it doesn't.
So listen, Brew, you said there's 3 black head coaches right now. There were 3 in 2002, which was when they created the Rooney Rule. It was such a problem 25 years ago with those numbers, created the Rooney Rule, and now we're sitting here with 3 right now. I understand that ebbs and flows over the course of many years.
It was 7, I think, is the high, 2017.
Right, and so, like I said, it's kind of felt like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. 1 step forward, 1 step back, and we end up right around the same place. So why do we end up right around the same place? I think there's 2 primary reasons, and neither of them involve any type of nefariousness, intentional malignancy, or racism necessarily. The first one is flat, old-fashioned nepotism, which is, and the fact that typically white people marry white people, black people marry black people, your family is typically the race of, a single race family. There's just a lot of names we recognize. It's like brother, nephew, son, Shanahans and Shulas and LaFleurs and Harbaughs and Taylors and Schottenheimers. And there's 2 Kubiak kids showing up. The Joe Lombardi that just got fired by the Broncos is Vince Lombardi's grandson. So there are football families. And again, families come in all different shapes and sizes. I get that. That is my reality. But typically, families are monoracial, and so that happens. So that's a piece of it that I don't think means there's any bad acting going on, but it is just a reality that when it comes to coaching, general managers, certainly team ownerships, white folks have had a huge head start. And so when it comes to hiring sons and nephews and whomever, the Belichicks were part of a coaching tree if Bill had stayed. Like, this is what happens. The other one is a little more troubling, and that's what I would call, because I want to be charitable and I want people to turn their ears off, subconscious bias, which is at the highest level decision making, I do think for some there is an unintentional subconscious bias of, I trust this person to motivate my team, to inspire my team, to get hand in the dirt, show my team how to run a drill, and I trust this type of person to be a quarterback whisperer, to be an offensive genius. And that's why I think what you see is, as Coach mentioned, a lot of the black coaches being either funneled towards or topping out at defensive coordinator, and the white coaches getting the offensive coordinator QB coach jobs, which have become where, like teams, that seems to be the pipeline is quarterback whisperer. And I do think there is an old school, again, I'm not accusing any individual of racism, but what is a racist mindset of, subconsciously, I don't know if this black guy is smart enough to do that.
And that is racist.
Of course,
that's what played quarterbacks.
Correct.
20 years ago.
And 20 years ago, the argument was, well, no, it's guys who played quarterback turn into coaches, and for some reason or another, the quarterbacks are white. But now the quarterbacks are, there's as many black quarterbacks as white quarterbacks, so that goes away. So I agree, Brew, that is racism, but you don't have, I think there are people who would pass a polygraph that they're not racist, that might not realize subconsciously what boxes they are putting people in. You know what I mean? And so that's to me is what's happening. And I hate to do these types of important things and have no solution. I don't have the solution because I don't think the Rooney Rule has worked really well. And I think it's ended up being insulting for some guys who it's like, you know who you're hiring, but you have to check a box to interview me, so I'm coming in. So I don't know what the solution is, but I believe very deeply that is the cause.
I think if this continues, the players would have to really speak up and even maybe not play at times. Like say because some of us will go on to be coaches. Now, a lot of players are in the league only going to be there 2 years, 3 years. Are they willing to do that for the future of African American people? Maybe not. But that is something where players could change a lot of this if they would take some stances. And I'm not trying to jump on the players, but I'm saying if this continued, there could be something like that. I would also throw this out. I do think there are some owners and maybe front office people in the league who feel like they're dominating on the field. They're 70%. They're 13% of the American population and 70% of the players. We need we want a place in this game too. And if it has to be coaches, front office people, decision makers, that's what we'll do. I do think there are a lot of people that feel that way too. And so I know a lot of African Americans, I'm thinking mainly basketball, but feel like the increased and heightened importance of analytics has been to, now there are some African Americans doing analytics, but it's overwhelmingly white and other races. And they feel like that has been a way to like find a spot for whites in the game when blacks are dominating it on the field or on the court. So I think that thinking is there too among some people.
Okay. Do you have any final thoughts?
We'll finish it.
The Vikings watched Sam Darnold walk out the door after a season where he threw for 4,300 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 14 wins. Justin Jefferson sounds like he misses. Take a listen.
Everyone knows the difficulty of the quarterback position this year, of how we was dealt it. But of course, having a quarterback that's already had the season under his belt with us, knew the plays, knew the playbook, knew the players, of course, throwing to me, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, all of these guys. I definitely felt like we would have done better. But, it is what it is.
Okay, reaction to missing Sam Darnold.
Listen, I think he's definitely right, Brew. I don't think I would have said it. Because
he didn't say it. He said it nicely.
Yeah, but I just don't listen, the numbers are Darnold last year, Darnold with the Vikings and then JJ with the Vikings. It's not like you're like, well, actually, here's what it's not even close. And everybody it's not debatable. I just don't know, Coach, how helpful it is for JJ, who they hope is their quarterback next year, to hear this from the best player on the team. I agree with him.
It's just so blatantly obvious. Like if he didn't say it, it was almost like patronizing because it's so obvious, I feel like.
Well, the owners just said it. The owners just said it loud and clear. They just fired the GM, and they fired him because he let Sam Darnold go. So that was a $25 million cap hit if they had franchised him. And then there's been talk about the fact that they could have traded up to get Drake Maye. So now Drake Maye, who they didn't get in the trade, and Sam Darnold are playing each other in the Super Bowl, so that's problematic. And then there's also Daniel Jones. He was in the building too, and goes and has a really, surprisingly positive season in Indianapolis. So you've got 3 guys that played much better than the guy that was there. And for him to say what he said, I'm with you, Brew. The owners just said it loud and clear how they felt about the quarterback decision and about the quarterback situation. So he's just parroting that.
The Vikings are lucky Justin Jefferson is kind of a fun-loving guy. Because as much as I criticize like A.J. Brown, he could probably use a little bit of A.J. Brown in him. Just not maybe to go that far, but Justin Jefferson would be fully within his rights to be ticked off. This is his career. Like in 2021, he had 1,600 yards receiving. 2022, 1,800. That's with Kirk Cousins. 2024 with Darnold, he had 1,500. And then this year, career lows in yards. He was just over 1,000 yards per catch. He only had 2 touchdowns. Like, this is his career. We just talked about last week. Is he still the best receiver in the league?
They finally found someone who could stop him.
His quarterback, right. Like, he still could be, obviously is on a Hall of Fame pace. But, it's stuff like that where it's like, dude, I'm busting my butt to be the best I can be. Get me a quarterback.
KW, do you want him traded too? Because you know who it reminds me of?
Stephon Diggs?
No. He's the offensive Myles Garrett at this point.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's interesting.
To your eye, one of the best you've seen statistically, on a per game basis, historically
But
great.
This is just his
has
first
been to
year.
the playoffs a couple times. What'd you say?
This is his first year, not like sort of being a non-story. Late in the year.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
The year Kirk's last year.
But
Kirk got hurt.
Kirk got hurt.
Yeah.
Kirk got hurt.
Oh.
And so but still, even with Kirk, it's just like they made the playoffs, I think, 3 times in his career, and it was with Miles been in the playoffs twice in a longer career, so it's not perfect, but an all-time great that feels like, man, in that spot, you're going to be in rough shape. Because in that right now, if you're the Vikings, sorry, Vikings fans, but I don't see an easy path for them. They're in that division having to start over again at quarterback. Yeah. That's a rough.
I thought you were saying that J.J. McCarthy was Sam Darnold early in his career. That's
no,
what I thought you were.
No. I don't think
can't
that.
give up on him. 2
Maybe
touchdowns.
bring Kyler in the building.
That does not
10.
fix it. Now you really want him to quit.
The weirdest and most wonderful place.
I was there for that.
What are you thinking? Like,
Seahawks OC Klint Kubiak preparing for the Super Bowl and to take over the Raiders. Mendoza, the overwhelming favorite to be his quarterback. What do we think this pairing means for the AFC West? And this has got to be great news for you because you had the.
This is your team.
This is your squad.
I don't understand how am I just a Raiders guy for life now because I thought last year they were going to be good?
Well, it's like how I thought the Patriots were going to be good. It's like
no.
you thought the Raiders.
All right, listen. Here's what it means. If Kubiak's the right coach and Mendoza's the guy he's supposed to be, then within 2 years it's a problem for everyone else in the AFC West. Just varying levels of problem, but as we've talked about throughout this year, if you have the right coach and the right quarterback, then you are competing within 2 years. We see that time and again, and if you're not, then one of them's not the right guy. And so that's kind of the big picture look at it. When you have Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Mahomes, Andy Reid, if these guys are the right guys, you're 4 for 4 in coach quarterback combos, which would be pretty sick. In the short term, here's where it's tricky for me, bro. Why did I believe in the Raiders last year? It wasn't just because I liked Ashton Genty.
You liked Geno, I think?
You liked Pete Carroll, too.
I said that
love Geno.
If you make a major upgrade at coach and quarterback, you can have a quick turnaround. So again, if these are the right guys, then obviously Pete Carroll wasn't good last year, and obviously Geno wasn't good last year. That could the Raiders be frisky next season if they're the guys? Yeah, they could be by the same logic. And so it's not what I would be anticipating happening, but I can't be they call me Mr. Consistency for a reason. I got to be fair.
Very consistent.
I think next year they're going to continue to be the worst team in the division, unless the Chiefs.
In the division?
Yeah,
I would
unless
agree
the
with
Chiefs
that.
just
Why would the
Mahomes
Chiefs
isn't
be the
same.
team?
I'm just saying if they fall off, like unsuspectingly, really,
Chiefs
they
are
were
what?
6-8 this year, but, So if they really, if it's like, oh my gosh, they're just not the same. But I think the Chargers are going to be really good with Mike McDaniel as the OC. Denver, I don't think is going away. And then I do expect the Chiefs to be good. So I think they'll be the worst team in the division. But like you said, I think that down the road, Coach, they'll be a tough team to reckon with in that division because Kubiak obviously did a great job, has done a great job in Seattle. And if Mendoza is that guy, you got Brock Bowers, you got Genty, if they just need to build, don't be so concerned. I get it that they want to compete next year. But the main thing should just be building around the group they have, building up the defense and seeing if Mendoza's the guy. And then I do think they could really be tough in the future.
Yeah, I think this is going to be pretty challenging because you've got the salty group with the Chargers defensively. You've got Denver's defense, that's problematic. You got Kansas City's defense, you can say what you want about them, but they bring a lot of different looks. They create a lot of problems, and they'll get better. So you've got that to deal with as a first-time head coach. And then I looked at it and wanted to see where Kubiak was with young quarterback development. So if we can pull this up here and look at the quarterbacks that he's worked with, most of them have been old quarterbacks. So you got Cousins, you've got Russ. He had the one season with Purdy, Carr, and Darnold. Now, when Spencer Rattler started 6 games for the Saints that year, and during that time, he went 0-6 with 4 TDs, 5 interceptions, and a 37.1 quarterback rating. And you could, maybe we give him credit for the Purdy year, but that Trey Lance was also part of that too. So do you get the upside of Purdy, or do you get the downside of the number 3 overall draft pick not being a bust? So it's not like he has developed a ton of young quarterbacks. Now taking someone directly out of college, being responsible for that and the organization without a real track record, it's different working with veterans like that than it is working with a kid just out of college against 3 defenses in that division that all are problematic.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and with Purdy, obviously he has Kyle there.
Right.
Right.
Who
Kyle's
Kyle
there.
is working directly with the quarterback.
And I was just saying, do you give him the credit, or do you look at the Trey Lance?
Well, again, Trey played
flop?
well those first couple games. Got his leg broken. They had him in the same. I mean, that's just.
So do you think he needs to hire somebody else just specifically for Mendoza?
Well, I just think the optimism of, okay, you're going to get the number 1 overall draft pick, the quarterback, you hope that he can save the franchise, and you get the hot coordinator, and you're thinking, okay, pair those 2 up. Yeah. This thing should take off pretty quickly. We've seen a lot of that with young quarterbacks, but you also have to take into account how well he's done with young quarterbacks, and there's really no track record for him developing guys.
Interesting. What's next for Sam Darnold? Is he changing the game for several other quarterbacks?
Changing.
I think everyone's a hypocrite about this. When I bring up Zach Wilson, yeah. Live from New York. It's a show that is cooking up some fresh Zach Wilson takes. It's the second hour. Stay tuned if you want
Point of
to
the
be
cheese is to
optimistic
get
about
people
Zach
to listen
Wilson.
to watch more of the show.
Some
So you
people
should-
a lot of people are like, Zach Wilson, I haven't heard his name in a while.
Exactly. That's
Well, Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Wilds is uncovering nuggets.
Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl
We
because no
know.
one believed in him.
That's not why he's in the Super Bowl.
But no one believed in him. Does anyone believe in Zach Wilson? If the answer is no, that means he could go to the Super Bowl.
Buddy.
Second hour first. Today, who would a Super Bowl MVP mean more for? Very interesting. And who's our dark horse candidate? I think I've got mine. I think I have it perfect.
Really?
Yeah. Meanwhile, friend of the
Tough
show,
question.
Danny Amendola, joins the show. You never worked with Danny Amendola, did you, Coach?
No, we almost drafted him, though, in Cleveland.
Oh.
Yeah.
You should have. He's Super Bowl champion.
He probably worked out better
He
for
was
him.
an excellent player.
In retrospect.
Right now, we're going to get to that Zach Wilson topic.
That's
Sam
not
Darnold
a Zach Wilson topic.
this guy's a favorite to win MVP, Sam Darnold. He's already brought home the MVA, most valuable acquisition. I don't know if it's given out by CBS, but he was named MVA in an article.
Okay.
I don't know if
in article.
Well, I don't know if it's
just some random article.
I don't know if there's any hardware attached to it.
Probably not.
If he wins the Super Bowl, he will be the first quarterback to win who has played for 5 different teams. After he's played for 5 different teams. Should reaching the Super Bowl change how the NFL handles quarterbacks?
No.
Maybe quarterbacks who played for the Jets and
Not at
given
all.
up on.
Not at all.
I think directionally, on how long of a leash should we give our first-round pick quarterback, which is what we're talking about here, teams are correct. Because for every Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, there have been the opposite mistakes. Tua, Kyler, Blake Bortles, guys
Well, Tua's story's not completely written.
Okay,
yet.
no, but
we haven't
teams
even gotten to the Sam Darnold phase of
No.
Tua.
But okay,
Or
so
Kyler.
let me explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
Because I think this part of the story is written. Teams that have questions about the player, despite those questions, swallow hard and pay him that second contract, and it ends up being something they wish they hadn't done. So even if Tua does, you're right, Kyler as well could write a whole other chapter. Daniel Jones falls in this bucket, where even if he writes another chapter, the team that drafted him gave him a second deal that they then instantly regretted. So I think that, for the most part, teams that cut bait with quarterbacks that they drafted in the first round are proven correct. It was smart for, you don't have to talk Zach Wilson if you think he's an unknown. It was smart for the Patriots to move on from Mac Jones, even if one day he's good. It was smart for the Jets to move on from, the Jets didn't draft Justin Fields, the Bears to move on from Justin Fields.
Trubisky.
For the Bears with Trubisky, the Steelers with Kenny Pickett, the Cardinals with Josh Rosen, the Broncos with Paxton Lynch. Like, those teams, after a couple years, were like, he ain't the guy. Occasionally, teams will make a mistake, or in Darnold's case, I think more likely is the case, I don't know that the Jets made a mistake, because I don't know if Sam Darnold was ever going to be good with the Jets. And so I think that the best thing for Darnold might have been them moving on and whatever needed to be done. But no, I think in general, teams tend to make the opposite mistake more often, which is hold on to a guy longer than they should because they can't get over the sunk cost of him being a first-round pick, and they want to grab on to whatever hope that he's going to validate that decision.
I think a lot of that's smart. With Darnold, the Jets, now I do think they failed him. I don't think they had the team in place to really help him excel. But then I think they got on a timeline. It was like, we got to kind of decide, do we want to pay this guy or keep him or move on? So it was tough for them. But I got coached 3 ways I think that Darnold should affect things. One, again, I think teams should not be in a rush to automatically start your rookie quarterback. I get the whole financial thing of we want to get this guy playing well on his rookie deal so we can put a bunch of high-priced players around him and be good. But if some guys just aren't ready, now some are. If they are ready, Caleb and Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, that's fine. I'm not saying hold them back. But Drake Maye didn't start initially. And I get it, that regime, is out of there now with Jerod Mayo. But maybe that was smart. Like, I just think if you see your quarterback's not ready, don't just throw him in there, because that could ruin him, when if you give him a year.
About Caleb, because you put Caleb in, he was ready. But is going through those lumps, because there's a lot of times he did not look ready. He took a ton of sacks.
But they
and
were
couldn't
also
complete passes.
5-2 at one point with him. Yeah.
But do you think that taking those lumps, as brutal as they might be, is just getting calloused?
Helped him.
I think for some guys, but look, I think if Ben Johnson hadn't showed up, then I don't think this would have been the success story that it looks like it's going to be. Second thing, Coach, I do think some of these other guys, the Zach Wilsons, the Kyler Murrays, they should get another look. And, just because a guy failed in his first stop or his first few years doesn't mean he can't. Because it's not just Darnold and Baker. Mac Jones now. I mean, soon if he was a free agent this summer, he'd probably get a good look
Malik
somewhere.
Willis.
And maybe they'll trade Malik Willis. Yeah, so there are other guys. And then I think the third thing is Darnold should be like the poster boy for that new middle class of money that quarterbacks that make money.
I like this.
Like now it's like if you're pretty good and you're up, you're going to be the highest paid or at least in that ballpark. And you guys know, as much as I like Brock Purdy, I was saying I'd want to be around 40, 45-ish for him.
And it was helpful he was from Iowa. He was excited. Yeah.
But like Darnold, Baker's in that middle class. Darnold at $55 million a year, I don't like as much, and they probably can't put as much around him. So him making $33 a year, like I do think Tua at that much. You look at the guys differently if they're in that middle class. I get it. Them and their agents are going to push for as much money as they can, and they should. But I think it would be good for the league if there became a middle class of quarterbacks making not quite the max, but, 30, 40, whatever it is.
Right, but who wants to live in that middle class? Do you want to live there?
Well, look, I'll say this, Coach. If I was Sam Darnold, and maybe there becomes a push. Let's say they win the Super Bowl, and people are saying he should push for a raise, $50 million. I get that, and I'm not saying I would. I think he's better off not making just $30 million, but he's better off in Seattle making $30 million than going to another team where it wasn't as good of a fit. He didn't have the players around him, and he gets the $50 million. I guess you can financially he wouldn't be as well off, but for his career, I think it would be smart for him to say, "No, I'm happy here making the money I'm making because I could really do something here."
Yeah, good luck selling that to anybody in the world. Like, hey, I'm Super Bowl MVP, and I'm happy making $20 million less than Brock Purdy.
33 or whatever.
Don't worry about it. No, that'll never happen. And with this, look, guys develop at different rates. And unfortunately, with what we're seeing this year, so Vrabel goes to New England, now they're in the Super Bowl after being terrible. You got Seattle. This is 2 years out, new head coach, new quarterback, they're in the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks the turnaround can be quick. Same thing with quarterbacks. Mendoza, he gets there with Kubiak. Is this going to change everything? The pressure is on for him to perform right away. And some guys do that early and some guys don't. But you've got to be objective about the evaluation of where those guys are, as opposed to just saying, he's a first-round draft pick, he was here, he should do this. Because it's not realistic. And I think about Tom Brady, if we hadn't kept 4 quarterbacks that first year and he had been cut and gone somewhere else as a 6th-round draft pick, what would his trajectory have been like? He sat for a year, and look, it wasn't great early on. And even the first year that he played, those were more defensive-centric years than offensive-centric. He evolved into the player he was. But if he hadn't been paired up in that system that really maximized his skill set and didn't rely on mobility, what would have happened? What if he, gets cut as a 6th-round draft pick? You're just sort of out in the ethos at that point. But it worked out incredibly well for everybody because there was that time given. So as much as Sam Darnold is a lesson to people about second chances and growth and the value of coaching and learning and working hard, every year we're going to see, I want my turkey, but I want it cooked in a microwave. And it's not going to taste good.
I like that. That's true. Turkey in a microwave.
You know what it really should, though, change, KW?
What?
The respect people put on guys' rivals ratings.
His what ratings?
The rivals ratings. Like Darnold kept getting all these chances because of USC in high school and the prospect that he was.
Wasn't he below like a wide receiver who?
No, Jawan Jennings was a super highly rated. No, but he was still a near 5-star, top 10 quarterback recruit in the country.
People gave up on him.
But he kept the people that believed in Darnold. It was all pedigree. It was all the measurable stuff and what the prospect he was supposed to be before he set foot in the NFL. There were, you know what I mean? There was nothing he had put on film up until last year that gave you any belief he could turn in the league. That's what I'm saying. It was all pre-NFL stuff.
I just wonder if Mac Jones' career would have been different if Josh McDaniels hadn't taken the head coaching job.
Possibly.
Well, Mac, you know who doesn't think that?
possible.
Mac Jones, who was like, I
I
don't
know.
need it.
I said it at the time. I'm like,
He was like, I don't know. I got the greatest coach of all time. I'm sure he knows what's best. Turns out,
And a
not so
defensive
much.
coordinator.
It wasn't
I'm
great.
like, maybe you should be
Mike
worried.
McDonald and Mike Vrabel are the first defensive-minded head coaches to match up in what Pringles calls the big game. Since Belichick and Dan Quinn, which oddly, after a 28-3 head start, delivered the biggest defensive collapse in Super Bowl history. Which defense do you trust more going into this game? Coach, we're going to start with you here. This is our defensive-minded
Yeah, I
coach.
really like watching New England's defense. Watching the AFC Championship game.
Love it.
So they had a 4th-round draft pick starting at safety. They got a rookie free agent coming in, rotating an outside linebacker. They got a bunch of castaways from other teams, a couple guys that they paid money to, all coming together, and they're doing a really good job of communicating. They're disguising coverages. They're matching up. They're bringing multiple looks. They're running to the football. All those things that you look for, and they're playing everybody. There's a ton of guys that rotate through and do contribute in meaningful ways, in meaningful roles that don't have to be the primary role. And guys get hurt, someone else comes in, does a really nice job. So watching them reminded me a lot of the team that we had during our first Super Bowl run, because it was the same type of composition.
made up. He was freaking
Where
out.
it was, Kevin, it was guys guys that were not high free agent, high money free agents, because we weren't in that market. And then everybody kind of came together and found roles and were willing to play whatever part they had to play. And when you put all of that together, it's a really good package.
Thank you. So
That's
good.
making me feel better.
There we go. You're back.
Coach,
You're back.
I'm a clean slate.
Yeah.
When
I'm
are we
taking
going to
everything in
When are you going to make a call?
Friday.
Excellent. I love this.
But right now, I trust Seattle's defense.
Yeah, they looked good against the Rams. They look good.
I mean, look, they have played. You had to deal with Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. I know they had a lot of other guys banged up,
Let
but
that
they
go?
they dealt with
I'm
this.
gonna let Brew go.
He likes
I'm gonna
Purdy
let
now.
Brew
He's a
go.
Purdy guy
I'm gonna
now.
let Brew make his
And
point.
then, of course, Stafford and that great receiving corps. You guys, Justin Herbert, who has not yet played a good playoff game, C.J. Stroud, who just imploded. I mean, just totally imploded. And then Jarrett Stidham, the backup quarterback. So they have faced tougher competition. Now, they haven't been as impressive, particularly in their second game, as you
They
guys.
were
but
as
they
impressive
faced-
in their first game.
First game,
Yeah.
absolutely. But they face tougher competition, and now you guys have had a pass rush in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, regular season, their pass rush was much better. They were top 8 in the league. You guys were bottom 8 in the league. So overall, I trust Seattle's more, but I think you guys are right there in that same class.
And going into the playoffs, you trusted Seattle's more.
Yes, I didn't realize that. I wasn't expecting the defense to get better.
No, and so in there, if you're want to be fair, whatever curve you're putting on Drake's performance because of the weather, that as we get further away from these games, the weather gets worse and worse.
That's pretty bad.
That round, the further we've gotten
Minus
away,
50,
the
wasn't
further
it?
we've gotten away from the Texans
Blizzard.
game, the Texans all of a sudden it was a monsoon
wasn't
throughout.
monsoon, but the Texans did not want to be there.
The further we get away from the AFC Championship game, that snow was starting right at
People
kickoff.
trying to do neutral field.
And so
Hated it so much.
And so, but that same curve impacts how the defensive performance. Seattle, first round of the playoffs, Seattle allowed 0.0 yards.
Yeah.
They didn't play. Second round, they were dominant. And third round, obviously, the Rams moved the ball considerably. I think New England's got a really good defense. I think Seattle is certainly the best defense in the NFC and maybe the best defense overall. It's different than the Texans defense, that to me was the other team in that conversation, because the Texans defense seems to have so many more splash plays as opposed to what you call like the boa constrictor, like just slowing you down. But here is what Seattle's defense has done this year against playoff teams. And it gives you an idea of how good the defense is. And so, again, just under 17 points game, opponent pass rating of 82, 300 total yards per game. And this, might not be fair, you might not care about this, but if you remove the games against Stafford and the Rams, This is what they did against playoff teams. Now all of a sudden it's less than 250 yards per game. It's 12 points, a passer rating of 70, which is again against quarterbacks this year not named Matt Stafford. What that pass defense was utterly and thoroughly dominant. Now again, Drake Maye was awesome this year like Stafford was, so you might say he can do something similar to what Stafford did. I think the fact that this was Matt Stafford's third, fourth, and fifth time playing the Mike Macdonald defense gave him an edge that Drake Maye's not going to have his first time playing the Mike Macdonald defense. So I just think Seattle's got better overall personnel, and they would get my
New England
answer.
has some salty. They got some.
Well, they're obviously
salty
really
dudes.
good, but I think, Coach, if you were doing a draft of the players, which isn't how the defense works, I get it. It has to be a collective. I think of the 10 best defensive players in this game, I bet Seattle ends up with 7 of them. Now, that doesn't, again, to Coach's point, they're rotating so many guys out, maybe that doesn't matter. I just do think they have slight more talent.
Can I show you one quick quote panel from The Ringer and Kapadia, who did an excellent job, and I just want he asked a question. I'm like, I wonder what Coach's answer is, because I have the Patriots, but I'm wondering how they're going to play. And earlier I talked about the Seahawks giving the ball up. The Patriots have to decide whether their defensive game plan will focus on making Darnold methodically move the ball down the field, or whether they want to prioritize trying to force him into mistakes. Coach, how do you think the Patriots play that?
I would think they'll probably have him methodically move the ball down the field. I would probably double Jackson Smith and Jigba, keep 8 in the box, so take the post safety, double in Jigba, put Christian Gonzalez over on Kupp, and say, okay, beat us with the other guys. See whether you can run the ball against 8 in the box. We're going to double that dude, who's the best dude, and then we're going to take our best corner and put on your second best receiver, and let's see.
Coach,
let's see how you do.
if the Pats did that and the Seahawks responded okay, we're going to put our third receiver out there, Rashid Shaheed, who's faster than anybody on your
What's
team.
he caught 3 balls in the playoffs?
Well, in the
okay.
Well, they didn't throw much in game 1. In game 2, he did make a big play. I'm just how would that count?
No. Yeah, but then again, they're going to their third best receiver has to beat you, and and that's typically the way that you want it to be. Is okay as long as the star doesn't beat you, and it ends up being the second or third guy, then you can live with that. It's just it's when you lose a game to the guys that can beat you, you're like, what are we doing?
They're David Tyree, unfortunately. We'll come up with a big catch every now and then. The Great American Race returns with back-to-back champion William Byron, looking for a historic three-peat. We will be there, the 68th running of the Daytona 500, February 15th, only on Fox. It's going to be excellent. Right now we're going back to the Super Bowl. We're looking at Super Bowl MVP. Darnold's the favorite. Drake has moved up to number 2. Who would a Super Bowl... I
think he's been number 2.
I thought he was deep. I thought he was
Moved up to
3.
number 2.
I thought JSN was 2 at some point. No?
That would be shocking.
I know.
Maybe
the top
just that
2
you're that
quarterbacks were not-
unexpected to win.
No, Wild's just wrong. There is no chance
I didn't know he was
that
top 5.
Drake Maye ever
I didn't know he was
didn't
top
have
5.
the top 2
I put
odds.
in my disrespect.
There's just
Put him on the board.
There's
Right.
no
You
shot.
got your board.
I know he's top 10. That was just all Seahawks.
That in a 4-point spread, there were Seahawks skill
it's four-
position guys with better odds than
Just 10
Drake
guys.
Maye.
Yeah, it's true.
Not what
Shaheed.
happened. Go
Number
ahead.
5. Who would a Super Bowl mean more for, Darnold or Drake, if he somehow wins it?
This is tough because both, and obviously every quarterback that wins the Super Bowl, you benefit. But these two, Darnold's already rewritten his legacy, but that would really, take it to a whole nother level. And then Drake Maye just being in his second year. So it's tough for me. I'm going to go Drake just because I think if Drake wins it, he's sealed as elite. He enters next year. We always talk about those 4 guys, and you can throw Stafford in there now. He's in that group. There's no question if he wins this Super Bowl and his Super Bowl MVP. Whereas if he loses it, he still had a great year, probably second in MVP. Just getting him here was great. But you go from kind of being, okay, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But if you win, you surpass Joe Burrow. And so I think that it just seals him as an elite quarterback if he wins this thing. Whereas if he doesn't, it could be, okay, he was another good quarterback to make it in his second year. We'll see how he does going forward.
Yeah, I see it totally different. I don't think Sam Darnold has secured his legacy at all. I think last game was great. I think that was a huge step in rewriting what it's been. And the question was, could he perform in a big moment? And you look at the 49ers game, it's like they were so lopsided, it really wasn't about him. And then this last game that had to play the way he did, now it's like, okay, maybe he's really over the hump. But now we're in the biggest moment, the biggest possible moment. And if he has one of those 4 interception games or 2 picks, 2 fumbles, everybody's going to be like, yep, it's same old Sam Darnold. In the biggest moments, he folds up. Where with Drake Maye, this is his second year. I think it's a totally different story, totally different timeline. It would be nice for him to perform that well, but it just means so much more, I think, to Darnold than Drake.
So I'm really focused on not just winning the Super Bowl, but winning Super Bowl MVP here. Mm-hmm. Because if the Pats win the Super Bowl, even if Drake Maye is not Super Bowl MVP, the story of their season is Drake Maye.
Right.
Yeah, because he was the guy in MVP conversations. He might win it. We'll find out in the next few days. But he's certainly going to finish top 2. And so he is minted no matter if the Pats win, even if Ramondre or Christian Gonzalez, even if someone else is defensive MVP, or is Super Bowl MVP. I think it's sneaky important for Jalen Hurts that he was Super Bowl MVP.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Not Saquon. Because the story all year was Jalen Hurts, bus driver, bus rider, that type of, I'm mixing metaphors there a bit. But when they play the Super Bowl, he plays great, and he is minted as the MVP of that game. It removed a lot of that.
Yes.
Like all offseason, when we were talking about it, it's like, well, he literally was MVP of the Super Bowl. That's how I look at Darnold. I don't look at Darnold as yet being looked at as the definitive bus driver of this Seahawks team. Like that he's had a really good year and his second straight really good year, but on a really good team and these other factors. So if they win it and a defensive player or JSN is Super Bowl MVP, I don't think he gets quite the leap as if they win it and he's Super Bowl MVP. So that's where I think the bonus for him, it's a bigger reputational bonus for him than for May. You know what I mean? It's, because you obviously can't win it without your team winning the Super Bowl. So I think
you should be able to.
Of course you should be able to, but voters have only got that right once ever.
Okay, coming in third and fourth, JSN and Kenneth Walker, both Seahawks. Who do you see having a more impactful game here, bro?
I'm going to go with, believe it or not, Kenneth Walker, the third. If it's a shootout, I'll go with JSN. If it's a low-scoring, nip-and-tuck, tough game, I'll say Walker. And I think that's what it's going to be. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see a shootout. But I see a game that's tough, that's close, that's hard-fought. And Kenneth Walker, with his running ability, I think will make more of a factor in that type of game.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Kenneth Walker. And I think if Kenneth Walker doesn't have a really good game and isn't a big part of the offense, then New England's going to win this game easily. So if they shut out Kenneth Walker, then they're going to be able to do a lot of other things that they want to do. But if he gets going, and now they've got to adjust and they've got to figure out other ways to stop the run outside of the initial game plan, then that's going to open up things in coverage for Jackson Smith and Jigba. So it's got to be him. Otherwise, they're going to have problems.
Yeah, I think it's JSN. And I understand your point of don't let the best player beat you. I understand that was Belichick's thing and your thing and a lot of smart coaches' thing. Seahawks played smart coaches various times this year. I bet most of them been like, we're not going to let JSN beat us. And JSN, for most of these games, beat people. And I don't think that doubling him without one of the, what you said of double him, put Christian Gonzalez elsewhere, I don't know if that'll work. I think JSN has been splitting double teams and been beating coverage shaded to him all year long. And so I'm not saying it can't work, but I think JSN is playing at an incredibly high level. Teams have been game planning to stop him all year long. And I think the Patriots have, when Milt Williams is back, a little underrated run defense. And so I think that JSN's going to have a big game. And I think that he will have a big game.
Coach, I'm very worried about JSN having a huge game, largely for what Nick is talking about. And I expect that we're going to throw multiple looks at him. It won't just be Marcus or it won't just be Christian Gonzalez, but you seem more confident that JSN won't be a game breaker, let's say.
Well, look, if he does, it won't be for lack of trying to stop him. You know, it won't be like, okay, we're going to play our defense. They're going to actually do some things, I'm sure, have multiple ways to try to handle him, whether it's high-low doubles, inside-out doubles. Maybe they push Gonzalez over to him when they want to blitz, but different thing. Maybe they, make sure they're jamming him at the line of scrimmage. A lot of different ways to try to handle him. And they're going to know where he is on every play. Does that mean that they're going to be able to shut out a great player? No, but what's even more or less effective against him is single coverage.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's really problematic. So, and then I do think if you take him away, then you've got Sam Darnold trying to figure out, what do I do next? Where do I go next?
That's fair.
And then, is he doubled? Is he not doubled? And having Sam Darnold have to post-snap figure that out, which then allows the pass rush to continue to come, that to me is...
That's how you make them see ghosts.
Well, and look, Vrabel's been part of the family tree that made him see ghosts. In terms of smart coaches, he's one of the smartest guys I ever coached.
Ooh, Brew, you're starting to come around a little bit. A little bit.
I am.
Oh!
A little bit.
Friend of the show, Super Bowl champion, Danny Amendola, joins the show next. Is he picking the Patriots? That would be, if he picks the Seahawks.
He's got to be fair. He's got to be impartial.
He's got to pick the
hurt my
Patriots.
feelings.
He doesn't have to.
Joining us now is two-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, three-time Super Bowl player, Danny Amendola. Danny, thanks for joining the show. He's fresh off of 18. How did you play? We didn't even ask you.
I played okay. I parred a lot of holes, bogeyed a few, birdied one. So it got me coming back for more. I'll be out here next week.
Nice, good.
The
grind never stops.
Yeah, that's right.
The grind never
All
stops.
Danny, I want to start you off with a play that I've been accused of being a conspiracy theorist on you. As you kind of go sideways, but hey, again, like I said, we're locked in.
Yeah.
So against the Jets, okay, this is Josh McDaniels, obviously, is calling the plays. Josh McDaniel calls this play against the Jets and Drew Brees is on the call. Drew Brees like, oh, that's reminiscent of the Falcons Super Bowl. Now we can cross-roll to the Falcons Super Bowl, which you catch this two-point conversion that tied the game at 28. The conspiracy is the Diggs touchdown made the score 28-3. Yeah. So I'm using this as a springboard.
They both did involve illegal picks downfield.
Watch it. When you watch the Patriots, do you see, Josh, like echoes of your playbook with Josh McDaniels behind the scenes with both?
Absolutely. And you can tell by both of these plays, they're the same exact play. He dressed it up a little bit different with the motion. In my play, I went in motion, and then in the more recent play, I believe that was Hunter Henry went in motion across the line. But what you need in this play is man coverage, and you really only have one guy to beat with that corner that's covering Diggs. So if he beats that corner, then he's in, and that's really all I had to do to tie the Super Bowl there is just beat my corner. And we knew if we had that man coverage, we're going to have a good look. You could tell when the tight end goes in motion versus the Jets that it was a man coverage play, and they knew they just had to get 3 or 4 yards, which was very advantageous for Diggs to do there. They walked in there, same play, just with a little bit extra dressing on there. And these teams see these plays, for years and years, and Josh McDaniels does a great job of just dressing it up just a little bit different, so it's a little bit unexpected.
Danny, Drake Maye had a solid rookie year, showed a lot of flashes of his potential, but obviously this year just took it to a whole nother level. How big has Josh McDaniels been in that success, you feel?
I remember going to training camp and meeting with Coach McDaniels. I coach under Josh McDaniels out in Vegas, and we have a great relationship. And we were talking about Drake Maye and just how he's progressing and how he's seeing the game. And I knew Josh McDaniels was going to help him out tremendously. Coach McDaniels is one of the best coaches I've ever had. He's just a great teacher. You know, he can relate to the players. He has a multitude of film and resources that he can pop on and show the guys and show Drake just how it's done at a high level. And Coach McDaniels, you know, he sets the standard with the players at a very high level. And you got to show up every day and get better. And I'm not surprised by Drake Maye's success.
Danny, I want to talk a little bit about moments in your career because I think there's ways to juxtapose them to the Super Bowl. So if we have young viewers or whatever, Danny obviously was a very good player throughout his career and a borderline legendary playoff performer with the Patriots. Like, you had some of the biggest Patriot games and wins are littered with Danny Amendola, huge plays and touchdowns. So I want to go to what I think is your first huge playoff game, which was the comeback against Baltimore. And that game is most remembered for John Harbaugh flipping out on the sidelines because you guys were putting the right tackle in the slot and you were playing right tackle. Something weird with the formation, legal, but they couldn't stop it. Can you take us to the install of that, kind of the story on how that came to be, that you guys practiced it, and what made you guys activated in that game?
We actually got that play from a college cut up. I think it was an Arkansas game they ran that year. And in New England, I mean, they got guys for everything, so innovative. You know, these coaches watch countless hours of film on college, on pro football, and we just try to find an edge. And one thing about playing in New England, one thing about playing for Bill at the time, and obviously Braves is from that tree. McDaniels was there throughout the whole run. Is that they're going to scheme up plays where we're going to have an advantage, and we just got to get out there and execute. I think you know, those plays in particular, you know, gave us an advantage of the game. We were down 14 twice in that game, so we were scratching and clawing. And thank God we put in, you know, the double pass that year. Thank God we put in, you know, these misdirection kind of, you know, different formations to get us open and scratch and claw and come back and win that game versus a good Ravens team. But you know, it's just a testament to the coaching staff and how hard they work. And you know, I'm excited to see what kind of schemey plays come up this week. Or next week for the Super Bowl. I mean, you know, when you have a year's worth of film, you know, the other team has a pretty good indication of what you're going to do. So you try to run plays off what they think you're going to do and scheme them up that way. So you try to, you know, work their cards against them. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I know Josh has some stuff dialed up for him, and it's going to be a fun one to watch.
I want to ask you about one other part of that could apply in this Super Bowl, which is big Super Bowl comeback. So Brady and Mahomes both have multiple double-digit Super Bowl comebacks. No other quarterback has any. All of your playoff touchdowns came in big comebacks. You had two in the Jags AFC Championship game was a big comeback. The Seattle Super Bowl was a big comeback, and then the one Wilds referenced earlier, the Atlanta Super Bowl, the 28-3. How were you guys able to maintain calm and belief in the face of that type of deficit in that Super Bowl?
Well, to answer your question, first off, I think, you know, everybody would love to get out ahead early and run the ball all game and run the clock out and just have a landslide. In these particular games, we were down, you know, by a considerable amount of points. So we had to spread the offense out. We had to resort to throwing the ball, which, you know, usually if we're winning, it's 4-minute offense. I'm really not even in the game. We're gonna run the ball, try to run the clock out. But we were down, and we tried to, you know, get our skill, you know, our receivers out there, 3 or 4 receivers out there, and throw the ball, put the ball in Tom's hand, and come back from a deficit that way. But, the reason why I think we were able to compete and win, late in those games, because we were a well-conditioned team. And it all goes back to how Coach Belichick ran our organization. Tough, smart, fundamentally sound. We conditioned late into the season. Even in the Super Bowl week, we'd be running hills. We would be, running conditioning after practice. So when we got into these tight fourth quarter games and we had our skill position out on the field for, in this place, 65 plays, 70 plays. I think we ran like close to 90 plays that game. So it was a lot of running, but I just, it goes back to the type of conditioning that we were in at the time. And we were ready to be out there all game for as long as it took to win. We were going to be able to go. So it's hats off to the coaching staff and to our players that put it in the bank. So,
Danny, we were talking earlier about Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he's obviously a great receiver, not the fastest guy on the field necessarily. What makes him so effective and great as a receiver?
Well, funny story, man, and I love JSN. I actually trained him out in Austin when he was coming out of Ohio State. I think he had one more year in Ohio State, and he was with Garrett Wilson. They're both Austin kids, so they came down to Austin, and I got to run routes with them. And I mean, this kid is like a human joystick, man. He can shift. He doesn't really have to change his levels when he's running routes. So everything looks very consistent, and he can kind of weave in and out of routes. And he has great ball skills. Obviously, right there, you can see him with the one-handed catch. This guy's a tremendous young receiver. He's the type of guy that you can tell that he's going to be in the NFL for a long time. He's already a professional, and he's making big plays. And I'm excited for him. These guys played in a lot of big games coming out of college, and then this year he's been lights out, and it's just another thing for him this week. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest game of his career, and I think he's played on these stages before. This one obviously will be a little bigger, but the kid's ready to go.
Okay, so you train JSN, so it's not just all Patriots, alumni. Okay, so I think that's fair. This is This is actual.
This is going to be an objective
actual
answer.
Analysis. Yes. Do you have what we call a score and a storyline? How do you see this game playing out, and who do you have winning?
Man, I know it's going to be, the Seahawks are favored by 4 points. I think, if we can shut down Walker, like Coach said, like I feel like we could, win in fundamentally sound football. We could control the clock late. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Pats are going to win by 8 points. So
like
they're going to
eight. Wow.
Oh, yeah. 8 points.
Wow.
That was real that was analysis. He's rooting for JSN too.
I mean, listen. I don't doubt that it was real analysis. He also said "we" 3 times, so I do think there was. I do think he might have a little partiality in this.
I think that was.
It's great.
Fantastic, Danny. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a great get
Thank
back
you,
out
guys.
on the greens. Work on your game and enjoy the Super Bowl.
And stop by the studio next time you're in
come
New York.
through.
Yes.
You're going to be a 3-time guest. We'd love to have you.
I will.
All right, Danny.
All right, right on.
Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
Danny.
Appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
More First Things First after the break. Live from New York, it's a show that doesn't pound the desk. We haven't been pounding the desk for 3 weeks now.
I didn't pound the desk.
You're always getting ready, though.
It's how I get my game face on. I'm out here to
Parkins
perform.
sits down here with the game face ready to go.
I'm happy to pound the desk.
Today, Drake destined for more Super Bowls. Meanwhile, has Darnold's path to the Super Bowl cleared the way for other quarterbacks to have their own little renaissance? Or just assance, if
Like
they had,
who?
Other Jets quarterbacks. We saw it with Geno a little bit. And then
That's
we saw
two
Sam
Jets
Darnold.
quarterbacks,
Yeah, and then
Zach
maybe
Wilson.
we saw
Zach-
Aaron Rodgers be washed and make it to the
Does
playoffs.
Aaron Rodgers count as a failed Jets
wow.
quarterback?
Of course,
that
he
was
looked
good
like
at?
he was done.
I guess
People
so.
are asking.
Zach Wilson's like, hello.
Justin Fields
This
like,
is
I'm next,
bad.
baby.
Yeah,
Right.
he needs one more. And finally, LeBron over Kawhi in the All-Star game. Fair or foul? Well, Kawhi's hot. I liked how you did 17-4 in the last 21. I only had 16-4 in the last 20, alongside Chris Broussard and Kevin Wildes, Nick Wright, and Danny Parkins. Seahawks fan, are you open to hearing about the Patriots? Because I'm open. Or are you just
Am
closed?
I open to hearing about the Patriots? I expect to hear about them.
No, are you closed with your predictions? Are you closed-minded?
Oh, no, I'm closed-minded.
Not me.
Yeah, I'm not open.
You are closed-minded. Brew and I are the only
I'm not.
available voters.
I am leaning heavily. I am leaning heavily towards
there is
all my
can
research.
Can I tell you something?
But if someone
KW?
hits me with something, I'm like, oh,
Can I tell you
there's money to be made.
America, if we found out tomorrow Drake Maye was out and Josh Dobbs were starting,
I don't know, Josh.
Wilds would panic for
Minnesota.
8 hours, and by Thursday would be like, I don't even know if it's going to be close. I'm just telling you.
Josh Dobbs can play, though.
I respect that.
Drake's college coach, Mac Brown, had some kind words for his quarterback as we watch the Patriots touchdown. A big postage stamp on there. Take a listen to Mac Brown.
I told scouts when they would come through that he's a Super Bowl guy. Mm-hmm. He'll win a Super Bowl. I didn't know he was going to have a chance to be the second youngest guy to ever do it or the youngest guy to ever win one. But he's got everything. He's got the it factor. I think Drake has the upside right now that hope he wins this one. If he doesn't, then there's another Super Bowl out there for Drake. And I think Drake will go down not only being one of the best that I've ever coached, but one of the best to ever play.
Wow.
I appreciate the support. It's a lot even for me.
Thank you.
Are you surprised Drake is this good this fast, Parkins?
You have to be. What he was just alluding to there is he will be the second youngest quarterback to Marino to start a Super Bowl, and he'd beat Ben Roethlisberger's record for youngest ever to win one. So history is on the line for Drake Maye on Sunday. Jim Brown was an MVP at 21, Lamar at 22, Mahomes at 23. He's going to probably be the runner-up at 23. So when you're in that conversation of talent for both individual and team success this early, it is by definition historic. So, yeah, I am surprised by it. And I think that he's going to be great for the next, 10 to 15 years. I think you're set up in a great spot.
Yeah. Liz, I agree with the last part you said. I think he's going to continue to be excellent. I think he enters next year a top 5 quarterback and stays in that group, barring injury or something unforeseen for the majority of, not the majority, the rest of this decade and further past that. But I totally disagree with the first part. I don't think this is surprising really at all. This has become commonplace. Here's just guys from Mahomes to now to do something like this in year 1 or 2. It is almost every year. Mahomes in his second year, his first year starter, 1 league MVP, threw 50 touchdowns. Lamar in his second year, 1 league MVP. Burrow in his second year made the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud in his first year and unbelievable rookie
number
season.
1 in yards per game?
Yes. Hold on. Brock Purdy made a Super Bowl, and Brew argued wasn't the only one.
Fourth.
Right, yeah. Right, could have been MVP. We think Drake Maye is going to be second in MVP. Jaden last year almost did it. And Jaden last year didn't have the MVP argument, but he did have is this, top 5 quarterback moving forward? Is this, so I don't think it is that shocking. Now, maybe you could argue it's shocking that it's him and not Caleb, but after their rookie years, that's not shocking. I thought Caleb could do this within his first 2 years. Jaden kind of did it. And if you're hung up on the fact that if he were born 9 months later, he's his second-year player.
Well, no, but I just think that a lot of the comps on that list, C.J. Stroud is not comparable to this.
Okay, so take C.J. off it. All the other ones.
But he did have a great rookie.
Yeah,
his rookie season was fine.
But look,
Jaden Daniels making the NFC Championship game is, to me, not comparable to being in the Super Bowl and being second for MVP. He had a great rookie season, but this is much more impressive than
what about
Daniels
Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow and Lamar and Mahomes? Which is 4 since Mahomes.
Those would be better comps. And then I think when you also factor in age and the team that he's on relative to what their preseason expectations are, this is a pretty big out-of-nowhere Super Bowl.
The closest one, I think, on that list would be Burrow. Just because Burrow took a team that was, a mess.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden got them to the Super Bowl, and the Patriots won 4 games last year. I think your list is obviously it's an impressive list, and you're right. Like, someone comes out of college and is impactful right away. I'm surprised, though, that it's him. And obviously you thought it was Caleb. I'm sure you thought it was going to be Caleb as well. But I thought Drake Maye was not a project, but I thought raw.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
fair.
yeah, coming out of college, I was like,
I think he was.
He's got talent galore. There's no question, but it's going to take him a little while, and he could be great. But I didn't see it coming this fast. I think Josh McDaniels is huge in that. And it's interesting that he's the youngest outside of Marino. Marino, because I remember him very well. You guys were much younger. In college, his last year at Pitt, he declined.
That's why he fell in the draft.
Yeah, exactly. Drake Maye, his second season at North Carolina was much better than his last season. I mean, it still was a good last season, but he declined as well and dropped. And now both of them come into the league and take off right away. But, yeah, I'm just surprised that he was so poised. And he doesn't look raw now. Like we thought he was raw coming in. Now he is poised. He's spectacular with the deep throws, but also can manage the game. Like, he just looks like a fully equipped quarterback, and that is surprising to me, judging by what I saw in college.
You guys know I have that puffer coat, that blue puffer coat.
Yeah, it's a good look for you.
Thank you.
That was nice of you to save him there.
It's a nice
neither
coat.
Brew nor I had.
You don't know what
I have no idea. I mean, I
don't know what
a
coat I wear?
I know
I've seen
what
the
a puffer
walking
coat
videos.
is. I'm not really studying your garb on
Correct.
the videos. I mean,
You don't know that I have a navy blue coat?
Thank you, Danny.
I got you.
I just
Go
listen
ahead.
to the
That hurts
things.
my
It's a
feelings.
good looking
Go
coat.
ahead.
Yeah.
I know you dress up for us on the
You do too.
Monday video.
I have a nice puffer coat, right?
Yeah,
You've seen it,
famously.
Parkins.
Famously. Yeah, it's a great coat.
I was like, I like a longer coat, too. Because this is like a ski coat. I kind of want a longer coat. I went to a store, and I'm like, I need a long coat. I'm like, and I didn't look at how much this price was. And I took off this heavy coat, and I put it on, and it was, honestly, I looked like you in your robe. It was like furry.
Awesome.
I looked so amazing. I looked in the mirror, and it was like thousands of dollars. I put it back. I was like, this actually looks too good. I'm uncomfortable with how good I look in this coat.
I know the feeling.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
If Drake Maye wins Super Bowl MVP, and he's the youngest player to ever win the Super Bowl, I feel like there is an argument that he is the best quarterback in the NFL. Of
course.
That being said, I feel uncomfortable in it. Because it's too much.
No,
It's me.
I feel like
it's too much.
So, and that brings me to
That's a good.
It brings me to my next
It is
point.
too much.
And that is too much, I think, on the rankings. So I am surprised, borderline shocked, that Drake Maye is this good this fast. But I know this emotion that I also have. I'm not happy about it. You don't deserve it. Like, you specifically.
Here we go. We got to talk about him in third grade.
I don't think that's
It's not just
Oh
me.
my
It's not just Bears fans. It's all fans.
Dolphins fans?
It's Dolphins fans. It's
It's
Browns
not-
fans.
you know
it's
what?
Jets
Definitely
fans.
Dolphins.
8 degrees
Jets
here right
fans.
now. Okay,
Here's the
Dolphins
thing.
fans.
You don't appreciate how good you've had it. And I don't think
we didn't make the playoffs for 4 years.
for
this
4 whole years. But I
Maybe
want to tell you,
3.
I'm going to extrapolate it. I'm going to extrapolate it, okay?
ahead.
All of Boston. You have it too good. And you know, it's like, oh, it couldn't happen to a nicer person. This is the exact opposite of that because of Boston sports fans. Look at this list, okay? Your 4 teams since your first Super Bowl have played for the title in their respective sports 21 times, and you've only had 18 losing seasons.
13.
Bruins, Red Sox, Celtics, and Patriots since 2002 have had 18 losing seasons against 21 title possibilities. So the fact that we're 7 years removed from Brady and you already have the guy who might be the youngest Super Bowl MVP ever and you're back in the Super Bowl, I resent it on behalf of everybody else.
Oddly, Danny, I root for all the Boston teams, but I am not a Bruins person, so if you want to take out the Bruins and put in Huskies men's and women's basketball.
Right, yeah.
It gets really ugly. It gets really bad.
You had it rough, man.
Justin Jefferson's former quarterback is in the Super Bowl. He says he's going to be pulling for him. But you know what? It would have been nice to keep him in a purple jersey. Take a listen.
Everyone knows the difficulty of the quarterback position this year, of how we was dealt it. But of course, having a quarterback that's already had the season under his belt with us, knew the plays, knew the playbook, knew the players, of course, throwing to me, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, all of these guys. I definitely felt like we would have done better. But, it is what it is.
All right, Danny, what has Sam Darnold proved on this run?
So I think what he's proven for his own narrative is stuff we've talked about all playoffs, and it's pretty obvious. The Seahawks were right to move on from Geno to him. He's a great contract.
It's a knife.
Yeah.
It's just a knife.
I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
He's a great contract. He's not a choke artist. We don't have to keep referencing seeing ghosts. He can get it done. They can win a big game because of him. That was a question up into the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, 8 days ago.
8 days ago, right? So I think for him, all of that's been answered. And now, if you're the Steelers, the Jets, the Browns, the Cardinals, you look to the draft to find your quarterback, but also you're who is the next Sam Darnold? The Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield type reclamation project, because Sam Darnold was a bust with the Jets. But the question now is was that Sam Darnold or was it the Jets? Mm-hmm. Right? He was 20. He was 21, 22, 23 years old, and he couldn't save the Jets. So can one of those teams turn Kyler Murray into the next Sam Darnold? Can one of those teams, Daniel Jones, he was on his way to doing it with the Colts before he got injured. So the quarterback that was a huge prospect that went to the bad situation, that is deemed a bust, but has all of the physical tools where if they went to a good spot for $30-40 million would be a bargain. Kyler Murray's the guy that's going to fall into that category this offseason.
Yeah, I think it proves that guys develop at different rates. And if a guy, because we don't know, Darnold's 29, 28, 29, 28. I mean, who knows if he could have 7 great seasons after this and I'm not predicting this, but be a Hall of Famer or something like that. He could go on to have a really great career.
Remember Kyle called him Steve Young.
Yeah.
Steve Young wasn't, good in the NFL until he was this age. Really only had 8 awesome years.
Matt Stafford got his first Super Bowl at 34.
Yeah. I mean, his situation, it was, but yeah, I get that. And so guys develop at different rates. If the quarterback doesn't come in and right away within the first 2 or 3 years blow you away, doesn't mean he can't do that in the future. But then also, maybe even bigger, the importance of, we have these guys we think of as QB whispers and a Kyle Shanahan guy. Those dudes know what they're doing. If Darnold doesn't go to San Francisco, who knows what happens then? Now, maybe O'Connell would have done it the next year, or would he have even been in Minnesota? And so, the Jets just weren't equipped. They did everything. They were terrible. They ended up getting the top pick, the number 3 pick in the draft. That's how you get your quarterback. That's what we're saying the Raiders just did. That's what we're saying the Steelers should do. You got it. And your organization was not good enough to make something out of it. Mm-hmm. And there are other ones around too. And so if I'm an owner or something, I'm like, man, I do not want to be in that position. We were just joking about, Darnold, if you want to kind of throw in Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, none of them were good with the Jets. And they went elsewhere and were pretty good. Zach Wilson there.
We don't know.
So if I was an owner, I'm looking at Sam Darnold saying, man, I am going to make sure my organization is tight. So if we're in this position, we don't mess up a potentially Super Bowl quarterback.
So, yeah, I was looking at this question from about what he's proven for himself, but I'll stay with where you guys are as far as kind of big picture, what it means for other quarterbacks. The inclination, the implication, I should say, is, don't give up on a guy. Like if you draft a guy and you believed in him, even if he has those struggles, don't give up on him. But I don't think Sam Darnold was ever going to be this with the Jets. And by the way, if we remember, the Jets got good draft pick compensation, a second rounder and something from Carolina for Darnold, because Carolina still believed in the traits, and then Carolina flat gave up on him, and that's why he then had to kind of bounce around as he did, back up in San Francisco. So the lesson I would have is a little bit of a different one, which is one of the reasons Darnold is being this successful. He has been excellent, but it is also tied to the fact that he has gotten the maturity, the experience, without coming with the price tag that normally comes with the maturity and the experience. And if Kyler is going to be successful at his next spot, or Tua at his next spot, it will in part be because they are not, those guys got paid and were asked to elevate their teams. Daniel Jones, you're right, was looking like he was going to be able to do something special with the Colts this year, even if I was skeptical of it. But again, that was, you got the experienced veteran quarterback on a discounted rate. I think people would be making a mistake if the lesson that teams take from Darnold turning into this 8 years into his career at what we call like a middle-class quarterback salary is, man, that means I really need to just stick it out with Bryce Young. Like, that means I just need to, but that doesn't mean that Bryce Young in 4 years making, the whatever the equivalent of the Darnold salary is in a better situation can't look better than he's ever looked in Carolina. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
That's also why I mentioned the traits, like 6'3" mobile with a big arm. Yeah. Like put that guy in a good situation. If you trust your coaching, you could probably turn him into something. Which is where I would not put Bryce Young or Tua.
Well, Kyler ain't got none of those traits.
And he's mobile with a big arm.
He's
just not. He's small.
I'm looking for it. I have my next Sam Darnold guy who people feels like he's underachieved and people want to give up on, but I think he could be good with the right guy. Justin Herbert.
I take back everything I said about your coach. I take back everything I said.
Big arm.
Huge
Imagine
arm.
he's like a Sam Darnold but 3 inches taller.
Just wait until Mike McDaniel and Justin Herbert
that's what I'm saying.
together. The league is in big trouble.
I agree.
That sounds like it
is true.
LeBron at 22 last night.
I was so excited for who you were going to say
He's
there.
real proud of himself for that one, folks.
You're just sitting there waiting for it. LeBron at 22 last night at the Garden. He also made his 22nd All-Star game, named as reserve by the coaches. Here he was after the game.
Super humbling. The coaches voted, right? Mad respect to the coaches and them seeing I'm still playing at this latter stage of my career, and to be able to be an all-star, it means a lot to my family, people that's been following my career, my LeBron faithful, has been following my journey, and but it's just I don't know, man. It's always rewarding.
Okay, so one of the arguments is Kawhi versus LeBron, Danny. Kawhi has been available, and the Clippers have been cooking recently. Are you okay with LeBron in over Kawhi if that's theoretically whose spot he took?
Of course. I get why Clippers fans wouldn't be. It's in their building.
Luckily, there aren't any.
Yeah, right. I get. Sure.
I checked it.
I feel bad for that one guy.
I'm just Billy Crystal was outraged.
Clipper Darrell
and Billy Crystal are outraged. Yeah, but listen, I love the NBA All-Star Game, as flawed as it is. It's like a guilty sports pleasure of mine. I watch every one start to finish. Absolutely love. But Shaq goes through the legs and pulls up from 3. It's not they do half-court shooting contests in the middle of the game. This is an exhibition for the game where there are often ceremonies that celebrate the history of the league. And this is LeBron's record-setting 22nd All-Star game, 3 more than Kareem, in his 23rd season. I don't even know if he'll play in the game. He might sit it out for rest. But
games.
Right, exactly. But
one of the problems with it now.
But it is a celebration of the sport.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is an exhibition that's a sell. And I know this isn't a commissioner ad, and you could argue that he got in there on merit because it's wildly impressive to be averaging 22, 6 and 6 at this stage of his career. But of course, it's fine that LeBron is in the All-Star game. It's fine.
What's not fine is that people are acting like it's controversial. If you want Kawhi in, then great. Then he should be in over Chet, or he should be in over Denny Avdia. He should not be in over the all-time leading scorer, who is right now the second best player on the 6th seed, who's averaging 22, 6 and 6. When the precedent is, if you are a minted, no doubt, as Simmons would call it, pantheon guy, you just keep going to all-star games. Kareem got 3 on the back end after he stopped being awesome. He was still the captain and still was, those teams were really good. Everybody knows how much respect I have for Kareem. But Kareem's last year making the All-Star game, going into it, he averaged 9 a game. Jordan got in both years as a Wizard. His first year, you could argue it would have been just on merit if you didn't know it was Jordan. His second year, it was because he's Michael Jordan. And Kobe was shooting 34% from the field for an 11-win, a team that was 11-44 at the break, and he got in. These guys, and there's a very short list, always get in, and people framing it as if Kawhi didn't get in because LeBron did is nonsense. LeBron was going. So if it's either Denny Avdia or Chet Holmgren, pick your guy to make the argument Kawhi should be in over, because LeBron's got to be there.
I agree with what you guys are saying. I'm glad LeBron's there. He should be there. This is the league showcase event other than, in the regular season. But and I don't remember, neither of us remembers, a lot of times fans vote in those legends. And I think the uproar, because I was even wondering, we talked about it, maybe it was even off air, were the coaches definitely going to put LeBron in? We wanted to see him there, but a lot of times the coaches might go with, they might have just gone with, okay, these are the guys I think should be there. And there's an argument for LeBron. Kawhi Leonard is playing better than LeBron. I know he's not the draw, and I'd rather see LeBron in an All-Star game, but Kawhi should be there, I think, over Avdia, who I'd put him over. But I usually it's the fan vote, I believe, or something like that gets him in. But LeBron is playing, like you said, he's on the 6th seed. His numbers are solid. You can't rip, this is a travesty. How is he even an All-Star? No, his numbers are All-Star worthy. Mm-hmm. And the team is winning. It's not like he's just putting them up on a bad team. So I'm fine with it. But Kawhi, I think, should definitely be in. And I think he will get in over some injured players.
Dylan Brooks?
Dylan Brooks not an All-Star. Is he?
He's not. Well, he should be.
Really?
Over Chet?
Over Booker?
Back here on the OT, we got Willie Colon and Coach Mangini on the desk. Our very own Kevin Wildes, he once coined the phrase, defense wins championships. He was the first to say it. Super Bowl 60, prime example of that. McDonald and Vrabel being the first matchup of defensive head coaches since Belichick and Dan Quinn 7 years ago. Our own defensive coach, Mangini, out here. These two quarterbacks, they're going to have their hands full. Who is more likely to struggle, look like a dud, Darnold or Drake?
Well, watching New England's defense, I really like what they're doing, and it's multiple. It's a lot of pre-snap disguise. They're using. It looks like everybody defensively. They'll rotate guys in both at outside linebacker, inside linebacker, on the defensive line, and that to me puts Darnold in probably the position to have the best chance to be a dud. I think they're going to force him to make a lot of decisions after the snap, and that's where you can make significant mistakes. Now it's going to be interesting because there's so much communication with the looks and multiple packages, how much Seattle's pre-snap motions and their sort of gadget formations affect that communication. That's my biggest concern from a New England defensive perspective.
Yeah, I agree with Coach. I think as long as Seattle doesn't give Drake Maye the answers before at the line of scrimmage, he's going to struggle. Nevertheless, we've seen him throughout the playoffs struggle against elite defensive lines, solely because of the protection on the left side with Will Campbell and that other rookie. I also think right now, if you look at his production during the playoffs, he's only 4 for 15 on deep balls, right? He doesn't have that kind of explosive play power, production rather, that we've seen during the regular season. I do think right now the blueprint is out as far as how do you get after Drake Maye. Condense the pocket, don't let him scramble up the middle, speed him up, and really allow him to kind of choke the baby in the pocket. And if you're able to do that, you can get to him. So I can see Drake Maye struggling.
So I was going to make the case for Darnold, the other side in a second, and I'll get to it. But, like, Sam Darnold is coming through a run where they had the bye, then they played San Francisco defense. We talked about decimated by injuries. Rams defense had really been falling off. Mm-hmm. Whereas Drake Maye is coming through this gauntlet of Chargers top pass defense, Houston best defense in football, Broncos in their building, best pass rush in football, top 5 defense. Is there something to, because I agree that the Patriots are playing their best defensive football of the year, that, like, it's been a while since Darnold has played a top defense, whereas Drake Maye is kind of in a rhythm of playing top defense. Drake Maye's only seen great defenses for the last month, whereas it's been over a month since Darnold's seen a great defense. Is there anything to that?
Yeah, there absolutely is something to that. We look at Drake Maye's production, it hasn't been very good, but it's somewhat understandable why it hasn't been very good based off of who he's had to play against, and the fact that he played against Denver in Denver, and then you had the weather situation, that didn't help either. And for me, it's about how well Darnold is going to be able to process after the snap, and will they try to double Jackson Smith and Jigba, maybe put Gonzalez over on Kupp, take away, put their best corner on the number 2, and then double team the number 1, and see whether or not they can beat you with everybody else. And you can do that and still play 8 in the box. Instead of playing a post safety, you just shade the safety over to Njigba.
So I'll just show you the numbers real quick, because in the regular season, when these two opponents played playoff teams, Sam Darnold was the one who struggled, and Drake Maye cooked. But the playoff teams that Drake Maye played in the regular season, he played Pittsburgh, but it was early.
Sure.
Carolina, and then Buffalo, and we know the struggles that Buffalo's defense had. Then when you flip it to the playoffs, when they obviously are both playing playoff opponents, it's Darnold's been cooking and Drake Maye's really struggled. But again, there's a huge difference, Willie, in the caliber of defenses that those two teams are playing. So my gut tells me that Drake is more likely to look like a dud because he has struggled against these great defenses in the playoffs. But now you guys have me questioning my logic here.
Well, I think part of that Sam Darnold's out is that he's had a run game to kind of stabilize the offense, right? It hasn't solely been him dinking and dunking or really delivering the football in a massive way. Yeah, he's had some big-time connections with JSN, but Kenneth Walker has been the stabilizer for that offense. So he's been on schedule because of the run game. And I think that's been able to kind of neutralize the defense that he's been going against. I think moving forward in this game, it's going to come down to winning on early downs. And you do that with a really effective run game. They showed it in the NFC Championship with Kenneth Walker on the opening drive where they went 81 yards and he kind of finished it off. So for me, as long as the run game's humming, Darnold's going to be where he needs to be. It doesn't matter what defense is on the field.
Yeah, and I actually think New England can do a good job shutting down the run game. They've been very effective up front. They're physical, and then they're mixing in some other pressures, both run and pass game pressures, that can then generate some negative plays.
What have you seen as the biggest difference? Because to me, it is very obvious that the Patriots are playing their best defense of the season. Like late in the season.
Facts, yeah.
Well, when you start with a group like they started with, and there's a lot of moving parts, right? A lot of new guys. So during the course of the season, you have to figure out where do guys fit, what do we do well, and then really good coaching staffs are then able to maximize what you do well, build on those packages leading into the playoffs and now into the Super Bowl. And I think that's what Mike's done is he had this group of guys where so many were new, and now we're how many ever weeks later, they've got a great sense of what each guy can do, and they're doing a good job of putting those guys in positions where they maximize their ability.
It's funny because their defense reminds me a lot of Vrabel's defense when he was playing with Seymour and Roosevelt Colvin and Ty Green. Like, they have those no-name guys who are just disciplined at what they do as far as condensing the pocket and owning A-gaps. And that's how Barmore and Milton Williams play. That between A-gap to A-gap, they eat. They dominate.
Salty.
They're filthy.
Salty.
But that's how his defense was when he's played. So I see a lot of similarity in that regard.
And the outside linebackers, too. They're
Jason's
big,
great.
physical dudes.
Yeah. He was a monster
in LSU.
People forget him.
Yeah, he had a great AFC Championship game. But whoever they roll in, that guy goes in and does a really good job.
100%.
I mean, they didn't, they were missing some parts last game, and they roll in other parts. And
slow down. We got a game on Sunday. You guys have me ready for this game right now. You guys can do the X's and O's breakdown.
It's game week, baby.
I'm very excited right there.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the Seahawks here, because no matter what happens in the game, they're going to have big changes coming to the coaching staff. Coach, you know all about this. They're losing their offensive coordinator. Klint Kubiak is reportedly in line to be the Raiders' next head coach. Vegas currently, of course, has the #1 overall pick, where they're expected overwhelmingly to draft Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza. Willie, should Raiders fans be fired up for a Kubiak-Mendoza pairing?
I wouldn't.
No?
I'm just keeping it a buck. Does it excite you? It doesn't excite me. They fired their last 3 head coaches, and now you're looking at a team that's deficient in multiple areas. And I get it. Klint Kubiak, I think, is a damn good offensive coordinator. The Seahawks finished top 3 in offense. But I'm looking at a team that wants to compete in a division that can play defense and offense. Obviously, you have Herbert and Mahomes, on and on. But I understand the young kid and what he's been able to do. But if I'm the Raiders, man, you're setting Klint Kubiak up for failure, because I understand what the young stud is. But if you trade out of that and get him enough pieces where he can build on, and then potentially go into the draft next year where the quarterback draft is richer, now you have something to lean on. For me, it just sounds like we've seen this episode.
Right, you're a big build the team before you draft the
100%,
quarterback guy. That's what you
100%.
came up with in Pittsburgh. What about you, Coach?
Yeah, look, there's merit to that. If you feel Mendoza is really the guy and he's a franchise guy, then you have to take him with this pick, and it sounds like that's where they're leaning. But even with that, then it's a question of, can the coach develop that talent? And the expectations are sky high with the #1 overall pick, and nobody really waits for it. So I went back and I looked at who Kubiak's worked with, and it hasn't been a lot of young quarterbacks. So he started out with Kirk Cousins, then he moved to Russell Wilson. He had the 1 season with Brock Purdy, but you look at that and you say, okay, if you give him credit for Brock Purdy, do you take credit away for not being able to develop Trey Lance? So there's that dichotomy. Then he had Derek Carr. Now, in that mix, he had Spencer Rattler, who started 6 games.
That went very poorly.
Yeah, so Spencer Rattler had 4 TDs, 5 interceptions, a 37.1 quarterback rating, 57% completion. Not very good. And now he moves to Sam Darnold, who also is you say what you want, but he is an experienced quarterback.
Can I flip side of that? Because I was looking at that 24 Saints team. I mean, people are like, why is the 2024 New Orleans Saints getting so many Google searches today? It was me and Coach. Derek Carr was impressive those first 10 games before when he got hurt. The team basically didn't win another game.
Right.
You know, so I do wonder if you're like, okay, so he got Purdy to be good, Derek Carr to be good, Darnold to be good. That's a pretty good recent track
Darnold was
record.
already good. He was nasty in Minnesota outside the playoff game. We had the 9 sacks.
And Derek Carr had some really successful seasons when he was with the Raiders. My point is, all those guys were experienced guys. They weren't being introduced to the NFL. They weren't going through their first training camp, their first, extended season, all the different looks that you're going to get from teams. And now you have to take that young, inexperienced guy with sky-high expectations and turn him into something that's very productive
But let's be honest,
away.
also, there's no receiver room. Who's he throwing to?
Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll just say about this. I like this for the Raiders if they do it with the quarterback, because I do think if you are in a division with Sean Payton and Bo Nix, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you have to swing for the fences. And a #1 quarterback and a young offensive head coach, it might bust, but it is the way to hit a home run.
Well, yeah.
It does represent the highest possible ceiling. I don't know if it'll work, but in terms of I wouldn't want to.
Numbers show it won't work when you don't have an offensive line or a receiving core.
Sure, but I wouldn't want to play it safe if I was in that division.
Look, if you can get the franchise quarterback, you go get him. And if you believe this guy is a young coordinator that can become a great head coach, you go get him too. But you better marry that with a little bit of patience and not think, okay, we're going to be in the Super Bowl next year because the Patriots are able to do it after 1 year.
All right, well, so that's the story of one hiring there in Seattle. All 10 head coaching vacancies are now filled, and there's a macro story that the league would be best suited to address when they look at it in totality. Coming up on the OT. Back here on the OT with Willie and Coach. So after the Super Bowl, Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak, as we were just discussing, will be the head coach, the final one to be named. He'll be going to Vegas. But the real headline here might be the larger issue in hiring in the NFL. The Athletic writes, with a record-tying 10 openings, NFL teams hire 0 black head coaches. Willie, you played, of course, under Mike Tomlin as your head coach for 5 of your years in Pittsburgh. What is your reaction to this story?
Well, it's a problem because of the optics and outcome, right? You're talking about 10 openings, not one black head coach that's hired. And when you listen to these owners talk about the why, it's because of a fit. So well, let's examine the fit. It seems like the league is drifting towards having an offensive-minded head coach that can develop young quarterbacks. So then I say, okay, well, let's look at the pipeline. And when you start examining these guys that are getting hired and you start examining their staffs, like some of these, if there's a lot of position coaches that are black, but none are elevated to offensive coordinator. So when they sit down at the table and explain their resume and what they've been able to do, and they've never had the opportunity, then they're not getting a fair shot at the table. You get what I'm saying? And that's the problem. So if I'm worthy enough of being a running back coach, a pass game coordinator, and a receiving coach, but not an OC, or at least being considered as an OC, how can an owner who's now offensive minded ever take me serious? And on top of that, my second point too is I'm frustrated with the fact that a lot of these coaches like Brian Flores, and I know Brian Flores comes with an asterisk because everything he's been involved with.
He's got a lawsuit with the league.
Right. A lot of these black head coaches who were at least head coach at one point never get the same or multiple opportunities that they see from their white counterparts. That's an issue. So when you examine all that, once again, the optics and the outcome seems like there's a problem here. And it feels like the league is going backwards. And I think right now, in 2026, we should damn sure be moving forward because we know there's talented guys out there. They're just not being given the opportunity.
Yeah, 3 black head coaches when the Rooney Rule was formed, 3 black head coaches today.
And when you look at it, Brian Flores has an asterisk on it because he called out this problem, 3 or 4 years ago, where he said he didn't think that his interview at the Giants was a legitimate interview. So now he has an asterisk for calling out the problem that we're talking about today.
Correct.
But he's obviously a very qualified candidate to be a head coach. He just signed an extension in Minnesota that's going to make him one of the highest paid defense coordinators in the league. And there's a lot of guys who get second shots at head coaching jobs after they've done a really good job as a coordinator, which he's done consistently, but yet he doesn't get one. So that to add an asterisk for him calling out something that's apparent to everyone, right. and to Willie's point, there's 13 black defensive coordinators and only 5 either passing game coordinators or running game coordinators, but no offensive coordinators. So if you're pulling from an offensive group, it's a disproportionate amount. But even that being said, how does Phillip Rivers get an interview? You're telling me that you can't interview a running back coach or a tight end coach or another position coach because he's inexperienced, but you're going to pull somebody who's coached high school football and played some games and say that's a legitimate candidate? So there's a problem, and it's been tried to be addressed, but it's been a long time, and you're in the same exact situation now that you were how many years ago? What's it been?
23 years.
23 years?
Yeah. Well, the thing, so I mentioned you in the context, of course, of Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin, I don't know if everybody knows the story around his hiring, because he is a tremendous success story of the Rooney Rule, but he actually wasn't the Steelers' Rooney Rule candidate.
No.
They had already...
Russ Grimm.
Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera had been interviewed in that cycle.
Well, so to your point, there was also Russ Grimm, who was the offensive line coach, who was on the Super Bowl team, who played for Pitt, one of the original Hogs. He was a guy who we thought internally was going to be the shoe-in to replace Cowher.
So as I was watching back the story today, Dan Rudy talked about interviewing Ron Rivera as an external candidate to check the box, as people say. But Mike Tomlin had gotten an interview with the Dolphins at 34 years old. He'd only been a defensive coordinator for 1 year. The stories that came out of Miami were that he was too hip-hop for that job.
Right.
They end up hiring Cam Cameron, who goes 1-15 and is fired 1 year later. The Dolphins have had 6 head coaches and no playoff wins in the 19 years that Mike Tomlin was there. Tomlin, the Steelers hear about his interview in Miami, make the call, interview him, and obviously the rest is history. So the thing that bothers me is the problem isn't the Rooney Rule. That is a well-intended thing that gets people an opportunity that maybe if Mike Tomlin doesn't get that opportunity in Miami, he's not on Pittsburgh's radar, and who knows what happens. But you've got to figure out a way to get the people doing the hiring to look past whatever implicit biases they may have to open up their eyes to try to find the next Mike Tomlin.
And the bias is real. We have a stat right here that shows you the disconnect right now as far as, like, look at that. I mean, years when no black head coaches were hired since the start of the ring. That's egregious, right? And so when you look at those numbers and you kind of process all that, when you talk about a coach possibly being head coach, being too hip-hop, if you will, there's obviously some old billionaires that just feel like they're going to have it their way no matter what they see or what they hear. They already they're already locked into who they want their guy to be. And the problem is there's a lot of young, talented head coordinators or future coordinators. I like Antoine Randall, one of my favorite teammates, well respected. I only played the game, receiver coach, should be a candidate for head coach. Anthony Weaver, who I thought was definitely going to get a shot, played the game, beloved by his guys. Like, I just don't understand what they don't see. And I would love, and Coach, you've been a part of the process. I don't know where the disconnect happens when a guy steps into office, because all those guys, from the time they walk into the door, because of the name and how they're perceived, is always grade A. I don't know how they fail at the table.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the disconnect is either. And to your point, Danny, the Rooney Rule was designed to get past that bias. Was designed to open up some avenues for communication that maybe weren't going to be there. And unfortunately, it seems to have become more of a box to check off as opposed to what the original intent was, which was to open up the pool of candidates so that some maybe inherent bias or whatever could maybe then be overcome.
Well, from a story that absolutely matters to one that could not matter less. Media night tonight for the Super Bowl. You guys have both dealt with it. There's often headlines that come out of it. We're going to try to pick a winner coming up on the OT. Back here on the OT with Willie and Coach. All right, the countdown to Super Bowl 60 is underway. Both teams have arrived safely in San Francisco. Opening night kicking off in just a couple of hours. Willie, of course, you would be my pick for Media Night MVP.
I would light it up.
What?
I'm sure you would. But Coach, who's going to say the more bombastic thing, Willie or Coach?
Crazy.
I don't know. But Coach, I know who you are picking to win Media Night tonight, and I agree with you, so I'm going to go to you first. Who's your MVP?
I'm going with Mac Hollins.
It's the only choice.
He's got a big presence on TikTok. He's got a big presence when he enters the locker room.
He doesn't like shoes.
He doesn't like shoes. He likes costumes. He's working the Warriors angle that's been so popular. Great movie, by the way.
He likes to be grounded. Like he's definitely.
Is that not a distraction? But that seems like a distraction.
It is. You asked me who was going to be the star tonight at Media Night. This is my obvious pick.
Mac Hollins is going to use tonight to launch a podcast. Like it's an undersaturated market. He wants to get into the space.
Yeah. For me, I'm going Irv Jones, the linebacker for
you have
the
another pick?
Seahawks. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him.
Off the board.
He's borderline going to give a prediction. He's going.
He's going to guarantee victory.
Yeah.
I respect it.